Well, we're here to prove it. SSG going up against LuneX. This one is for all the marbles. It's elimination time.
All right, Burning T'Challa, we go. Domination, LuneX, SSG, best of 5, setting the tone right now, folks. Getting that point early is always important. In Dom, buddy, I'm looking forward to it. We both got the opposition here in terms of who we think is going to win, but I truly do think the competition's incredibly tight here.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the difference of opinions everything's still changing, I guess. Because of the ban phase, because it's so targeted, and also, it's tough to figure out the meta if you do well in scrims, and it's taken weeks to even improve. I mean, the Mantis is becoming a lot more of a priority for both these squads. We already see, we're not even going for the Protect of the Gambit after the double Elsa ban. They want the Mantis. They want to play these comps around it. And I guess that makes sense because of, the fact that you're playing the Phoenix and stuff, and people like to play Mantis Phoenix around that specific lineup. And for LuneX, it looks like they want the one-sided Gambit mismatch.
Yeah, I don't know that I love it, but we have seen success with it. So again, it's just all about how this looks immediately. And in Dom, a damage boost, not only, guys, does it enable really strong compositions like in triple backline comps, but it gives you ult quick, and ult quick enables you to win fights fast, get point early. That's kind of the idea of Mantis as a whole, and why Mantis has always been so strong in the meta, at least at this level. But they were floating that rogue ban next, and that's something I don't think is a bad idea against LuneX. They've proven they can run that rogue, and there it is.
Yeah, smart move for sure, like you mentioned. I guess it's the difference is maybe the Mantis bans that you have to do alongside it are a little bit more open, maybe. Like you have the Groot available, you have, Phoenix stuff. You can really play most of the, duelist lineup. So that's always, I guess, something you have to think about. Invisible mismatch as well is something that's been utilized for most of these squads towards, the latter half of the draft.
Yeah.
And I think we've had the discussion, right, Shib? If you have the Mantis, you don't want to see that Doctor Strange on the opposite side, right? That's brutal with Mantis boost, right?
Yeah, I mean, Strange is obviously great, but and also the Invis. But again, Strange is in this meta, the reason he's so strong is just there's not a lot of shields being run. There's not a lot of Magnetos to shut down that ultimate. You kind of get free reign with the Eye, and Eye of Agamotto is a massive ult in the right hands, right? Especially, if you're not able to have, the Gambit on your team, for that CC cleanse, he's just kind of taking a forward jump in the meta that I don't think I necessarily expected, and I don't even think early on in this stage of Ignite in the preseason, every team expected. It just kind of has shown up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe going back to when there was that interview with the team that beat we lost in the group stages as well. They were we just had to ban out the Kendrick Doctor Strange, and then we started winning every game, right? So I feel like after that, at least for us, that opened definitely our eyes to that. But this is going to be interesting, shit, because this is a change up, I think, in terms of just prioritizing that Mantis away from the Gambit. And we get to finally kind of learn, right? I feel like there's so many strong strategists right now that it really is tough to decide, even those thin margins, if they're worth trading off, trying to go for an early Gambit ban like we've seen so far through the tournament.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is going to be a fun thing to kind of learn together. I think I'm curious if it is more worth it to keep the Mantis around. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it shakes out here in a moment. You can see the bans, folks, on the top left. Those are going to be the bans that are against that specific team. Those are heroes they cannot play. Keep that in mind. And folks, once again, you lose here in this best of 5, your team is out of the preseason, setting the tone a little bit here. So you want to make sure you lock in right now. This is your moment on the big stage. I'm looking forward to it, buddy. Here we go.
All right, kicking off first map on Domination. And also, since it is that, I guess we'll talk about it later, but it is a first to 3. And, obviously Domination first. You have to decide between Convoy and Convergence after this one. But that is in the far future. Starting off for Spacestation Gaming, should we get to see Nectar and Doomed finally pairing alongside that Psylocke and Daredevil combination? For LuneX, though, they went for that Invisible Woman again, and they're going for that counter dive style with the Thing and triple Vanguard.
Yeah, I think Thing is really strong in the meta, but it just hasn't seen a lot of success in terms of numbers and percentage of win, which I'm surprised about. I just think there's so much movement right now in the game. It's difficult to burn a lot of your cooldowns to stay on top of those that you're trying to shut down with the Yancey Street, obviously, with the grounding ability. But, Jeff has struggled a bit, but then yesterday we saw some insane Jeff faults that kind of shut down kind of what we were thinking. As you can see now, Month on the high ground, spraying through the enemies into the team is always a smart play. Silent Blaze gets deleted here by Nectar off the rip. Redis finds one and Doomed another. Make it 2 now, Doomed, as that is going to set the tone here for SSG.
Yeah, I mean, a quick fight, just collapsed onto the back line, didn't really react. And, we heard about these triple Vanguard comps being solid, but have turned into sort of kind of more cheesy setups, at least if you don't have that Rogue Gambit sort of style. Now they switch over. Shib, it looks like they're going to the Venom dive composition alongside a triple backline strategy.
Yeah, it gets dicey when you switch a little later on in the matchup, obviously losing that alt charge percentage, but, early like that, it's not a bad call, and, that if he's very comfortable on the Venom, so going to see what that looks like as we start up our second fight here. But that was a quick, decided W there on point one for SSG. Silent Blaze says, all right, let's change that up quickly, though. Goodbye, Doomed, as Doomed was pivotal in the last fight. Good pick there for Silent Blaze that you had just, gassed up a little bit prior to this game.
When they get the Venom team up too, compared to Spacestation, who are not running the Venom, so the Jeff maybe doesn't have as strong a healing output as he could. Otherwise, Tones drops out the ultimate, the Banhammer to the backside. Also takes down Nectar towards that left angle. I mean, Nectar stayed for a little bit too long. Also, Blur got ran over. Kind of all snowballed after that first pick.
Yeah, Tones makes me want to throw up a little bit with how nasty he is on this hero. This has honestly always been a problem. I think Vanpool's been jumping up in the meta a fair amount. I'm surprised. Some games had no Vanpool at all. I think that at this point in this meta, prior to the changes that are coming to them later on in Ignite, not going to be present right now. The stuff you see in Client is not there today. Again, I think he's a must play. As we see now, the engagement from Redis finds one there off the back of the Raging Royal Flush. Will there be more? The Itch Chef goes down. It looks like there was a decent kite, not many fall.
I mean, Nectar unfortunately having to deal with the Daredevil the whole time, just kind of his mark 24/7, whereas, his own Daredevil obviously doesn't have a Psylocke to have to worry about. Regardless, still controlling the point is the side of LuneX. They're heavily kind of surrounded. Space Station trying to buy some sort of flank angles, and looks like they do have Daredevil set up in the back line with Doom. But they're going to have to win this fight diving deep with this Luna Snow dance floor, which they started off early. So maybe with some damage, we can get something going. They can stall out the fight for longer. But regardless, LuneX sit in a good position in terms of strategist ult advantage.
Iffy committing with the feast as well. Out goes the Soul Resurgence from Tico. Ends now. Fidel, the dance floor goes down. Out goes a huge ultimate from Nectar as Doomed and Fidel are going to clean up a few. Make that another as Doomed takes out Tico. Once again, SSG being a little bit patient there, waiting out some of those ultimates and then hard committing. But they did commit a ton. Silent Blaze has a free It's Jeff moment. Will this one find value? See in a moment here as they set up our next fight. 53 to 69%. On the board right now.
I'm just kind of surprised that, I guess maybe the damage output was too crazy, but that Silent Blaze didn't pop the ult in the last fight. Regardless, like you said, they do have that ult. It's a little bit more open of a point. We'll see what happens for SSG, because like you said, they have no ultimates building up towards that Jeff ult soon. Maybe they can get a surprise play early in these early fights. They've been able to track down Nectar, but he's playing a lot safer now, or they're playing a lot safer now, which has enabled the side of SSG.
Yeah, a lot of teams like to use Jeff in a defensive manner when the team comes does it. Wow, and that was a huge pick there from Blur on the Silent Blaze as we're talking about it, right? With that ult still.
It is the problem. Like, I like Silent Blaze on the White Fox and stuff, but specifically when we see them on the Jeff, it's just kind of like odd. Like, I feel like they played well in the first fights we saw, but now we've just held Jeff ult twice, 2 fights in a row, and I can't help but feel bad for them at this point because the portal's going to come now, but will it be too late?
And that's a huge pick in the neutral there from Nectar onto Iffy, who does a good job stalling point there with Venom. And I'm with you. I think you needed to commit that ult earlier here as Redis dives towards backline, tries to find one. Goodbye, Fidel. And now LuneX going to be up a number so far. The Itch Chef goes down. Will this one land? Nectar able to dodge that in that moment? I don't believe it does. And that's going to be a quick delete.
Yeah, sorry, Shib. That's brutal. That is going to be fight ending. I mean, just after that, no more portal. Everybody comes back. You use the Jeff ult late to no avail. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on you for sure. That's maybe why. Maybe you could hold on for a little bit longer. You have the Devil ult from Doom, though, to help secure Redis towards the point, and everybody else tries to funnel in. Maybe build ults up. They could stall for a little bit longer, but they don't have strat ults. Maybe the Mantis ult coming up soon could save them. They still don't control the point, too, so maybe that buys them some time.
Never apologize, brother. I could tell that thought was going to be juicy, and it was. I'm with you. I just don't think these last few fights have gone the way of Silent Blaze, and there's some commitment now from Tico. Out goes that Soul Resurgence. Team's going to stay healthy on point, trying to buy time. 99 to 94, folks. OT ticking down. They've got to stay on it. Even offer a moment will lose them this map. A pick comes through. A few are going to fall as Fidel takes out Redis, and that's 2 numbers up now, and they're still holding on, though, somehow on this point. Nectar with some good positioning. Goodbye, Tones. OT should tick down in a moment here as everyone falls. It does. SSG find the first map.
Whew, I mean, that was close. I think despite the number of mistakes LuneX were making, the target focus seems to be good. I think all of that is on the right page. Like the fact that it was 99 to basically 99 off of all of that is very impressive. So they can come back maybe on Warrior Falls. For SSG, they kind of need to focus on their target focus a bit, Shib. Like, I feel like you know, they're not, like you mentioned, these fights are lasting a lot longer than you would think, and maybe that's because they don't have that Phoenix that they used to run alongside the Daredevil. But regardless, I think if they hone up their target focus, they could close this out 2-0. For LuneX, though, obviously you just can't make the same Stratus ult mistakes that they did.
Yeah, and it's tricky too when you're running the Jeff into a comp. Like I especially as practiced as a side of SSG, but you know, there's a lot of abilities across the board that are going to shut down things like Jeff. You have the Buzzsaw from Blur. You do have Nectar's ultimate, which is strong into its Jeff. You have Nekrise's ultimate strong into Jeff as well. Doomed with that baton throw. It's another auto-locking ability that causes damage to Jeff that just tries to escape and fin. And you know, that kind of stuff makes it just so tricky. That's why they're finding a lot of success in shutting that stuff down right now on the side of SSG. Now, we're going to see what the fight looks like. There is no ult advantage. There's going to be a Vanguard ultimate on the side of Iffy with the Feast versus the Dance Floor from Fidel. Alt charge up a little bit for the side of LuneX, but either way, this should be a good fight off the rip. Again, folks, you want to win this point early. Positioning is huge here from SSG, though.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the upcoming fight. SSG goes first, like you said, immediately with the Dance Floor. Can they find the KOs afterwards? The answer, easily yes. Tones falls. Does anybody else fall, though? They use the Jeff ult in the backside from Silent Blaze, a little bit faster use this time. Looks like he got one in his mouth, but they still lose Logan on the fallback. Unfortunately, could not escape to that pool of healing. So, Spacestation Gaming still sitting in control. It's as you said, Shiv. They look to be on point today.
Yeah, and it's funny, they're not even running the Mantis right now, SSG, right? Like, it's something to keep in mind. That's not something that they've got on the docket for them at this point. But either way, look at this alt charge with point advantage. This is going to be very difficult for the retake. Doom going to commit now to let the devil out. Regis doing the same. It's Jeff goes down. Does that one find value? Goodbye as Regis takes out Fidel. Regis, a demon on the hit scan, apparently also up in the melee form. Nekrise onto Tico now. Will we see more? Out is a huge Cutterfly. Doesn't seem to find just enough value yet. Pulls out cooldowns, and that's it as a two-piece comes in now to the side of LuneX. And they should be able to control this point for a while. 8% and climbing. Not a bad retake being down in ults like that.
Hey, everybody pilled around Tones. You mentioned how good Tones is. Also, the fact that they used that Raging Roll flush. Everybody kind of zoned out Nectar's ultimate. So, excellent disengage by them. Taking down Doomed in the stagger as well. Control the point is LuneX. So we'll see how this kind of operates moving forward. The swap from Tico over to the Psylocke definitely makes sense. It's interesting because obviously in terms of just the pure Psylocke matchup, you'd want the Snowflake maybe to kind of win those duels. But regardless, the pace of play that Gambit provides is crazy.
Yeah, and a lot of commitment comes out now. Using that freedom charge to put everybody in there as Regis finds one. It's going to be a good answer. Nectar on that trade onto Regis now. And those were the callouts we were mentioning. Two very strong duelists right now in this current meta. Doomed, trying to find a flank angle, is able to find one. You can't hide from the lawyer. Doomed takes out Tico. LuneX want this point. 51, 53%. And climbing with some good positioning once again. Ult up and available for Silent Blazes. Immediately goes down. Nekrise able to take out Iffy. A second pick comes in on a Logan. And now Tones goes down. And SSG looking good on the retake of point.
Yeah, this all stemmed from that you mentioned early pick on the Tico. I mean, the tough part is about Psylocke is that, you know, the entire kit or half the kit is ruined just by Daredevil existing. He can see through walls. He can see you while you're invisible. Not a fun matchup for any Psylocke player. Now in this upcoming fight, though, a lot of ultimates for SSG to keep holding on to it regardless. Shiv, these fights in the neutral have been so chaotic. It feels like first picks happen so fast, even without the Mantis damage boost.
And I like the change here from LuneX with Logan. You know, Logan is actually going to make a switch to kind of counter some of this melee problem they're dealing with. Regis able to find Month, and that's going to be a good start for their side of LuneX who want the retake. Almost even on percentage once again. These teams are duking it out here, folks. Tico goes down, or excuse me, finds Doomed, who goes down. And the chase comes out here from Blur. He's going to try to stagger a few on this retake of point.
Yeah, it looks like Tico's ult was kind of in a perfect space to force away Spacestation Gaming, but they didn't lose too many. They're kind of regrouping in main. LuneX trying not to get staggered right here is probably their main priority. Maybe set up Regis, force out double straddle, but here comes the Nectar ult early on.
Yeah, I think not able to find too much there. Does drive them off point in that. Wow, what a pick there from Nekrise onto Iffy, trying to escape. And even more potentially coming through again, folks. Nekrise is going to be on the stick. Shout out to the controller players on PC, getting the job done even at this level of play. I know there's a lot of folks looking up to them who are making the switch maybe from console. Shout out to all of you. A lot of these teams have been doing that. Out goes the dance floor now. The Fox to match it. What does the Fox say? Not much, because the Fox is 6 feet under. Well done by Blur. And the chase to continue for more. Fidel takes the height now. It looks like Iffy trying to find a few more. And man, it's been back and forth for days here on the KO feed.
Yeah, you overextend and you meet Iffy with the tentacles in your face. So everybody else is going to fall to Regis' ult and recontrol that point. Like I said, it is back and forth the current moment. I mean, I've liked the Psylocke pick so far for Spacestation Gaming, but sometimes they've overextended. Upcoming fight, they also used both strat ults in a loss. It was, good target focus on that white box earlier with Logan, but regardless, upcoming fight, they're going to set up for a fast dive ship.
Yeah, this is a good position here, and the idea is to use these Jeff bubbles to hard engage, and that's exactly what they're... Wow, huge commitment there. BC the Abyss could be massive, and it is. Finding the combo there with the tentacles to take out Fidel instantly. Up a number, but committing. Freedom Charge out as well, and that's for the side of Blur. It's Jeff is going to find one, at least, actually two. Can Silent get off map? It looks like Silent will be able to do that, and that's a clutch ult there from Silent, maybe silencing us in that moment, who saw a little bit of hesitation early on, and that is going to be a winning map.
Yeah, excellent turnaround from Silent. I think the big thing is getting off the Mantis, considering they weren't, I think maybe it's just Tico's playstyle on the Mantis or whatever. I think that they were playing too stacked together. Usually you see these sort of Mantis players try to take some more off angles or something. They were kind of hard locked together in a unit, and that wasn't giving Silent Blaze space to breathe. So in hindsight, looking back at the situation that happened, obviously you could say it was tough ultimates from Silent, but it makes sense due to the fact that now Tico's on Psylocke, and they're given so much more space. And that was a huge eat at the very end to bring it back, because Necrise was full jackpot. I mean, he got all of the bounces and would have destroyed the side of LuneX if they did not get that Jeffy.
Great call there, buddy. We head into map 3 on Domination. Are you not entertained? First match of the Americas region. Why not, buddy? Heading up to 99% in every single map so far. These teams are locked in and they want it, but the question is, who wants it more? Nectar has ult available. Tico right behind. Doomed in the same boat, and that's going to be the ults we see in this first fight.
And for SSG, I imagine they want to go fast with it. Same thing for LuneX. LuneX actually ready to go and peel off. They're a bit more defensive with their style. But in this case, they go aggressive. And actually immediately take down Nectar. Oh no, in the middle of it, Doom does pop his ultimate off, but meanwhile, it's only 1 for 1. Maybe make it 2, actually. Tico falls after his ult runs out, and the follow-up is there. Necrise neutral doing well. Tones, though, also able to do so. Has the ultimate still ready to go, so can pop that if he wants. But no, it's traded too far. Now they go aggressive with the Banhammer immediately onto Fidel. That sends them all the way back. And it looks like LuneX are going for a portal, so they're not even giving up on this first fight just yet, Ship.
Yeah, and the idea is to cut off this angle, make it a little easier for your team to get the point quickly. Wow, what a throw there from Tico. Oh, no, didn't catch it in that moment. Was distracted on the potential hero switch, I believe. Oh, that is so brutal. Could have found a pick there, but was on the hero screen, I believe, as Blur able to find Regis there now. Point take from LuneX early on. Ult advantage still in the favor of SSG, who have Nectar. And there's that commitment now. Dance of the butterfly, the cutterfly, if you will. Finding 1. Make it 2 now, Nectar. Come on, as they keep it going, and they will find a 3rd as Blur cleans that up.
Yeah, this is what we would have liked to see out of the side of SSG yesterday, to not be in loser brackets, is they were prioritizing, I think, a lot more Phoenix. Today, it looks like a lot more Psylocke. Maybe that's just how it worked out ban-wise. But upcoming fight, got the Jeff ultimate available for the side of SSG. Same thing with White Fox. Opposite side for LuneX. Not as much of an opportunity, but they do have Venom. And Iffy has been huge with these Feast of the Abyss in the middle of the team fights.
A lot of answers here for SSG available. Rita's going to start off with the Let the Devil Out, and there's those answers I was talking about. Both going to commit as month goes under. Fidel does the same with the Fox. Dropping backwards, gets eaten though. Fox still providing a lot of pressure in the front line, getting back to the team. Folks, remember, if you land that paw on the enemy, you do an additional 50 besides the AoE damage, so 100 every single swing, but that paw's got to land there, so good placement as Tones is able to clean up Fidel through that mix. Percentage 42 for the side of SSG, 19 for LuneX. Another portal being committed this time. We'll see if this one works this time from the side of Nectar. Be a little more patient. There's that commitment. Wow, able to hold on.
I mean, they're still barely onto the point. Unfortunately, it's still going to be a very hard fight to win, but it's like you said, Shiv, just building up that time bank, slowly dwindling down the potential retake from the side of LuneX, but eventually give it up. Going into the next round for them, but both portals utilized very early on in the fights. Upcoming one, though, Shib, we do have both strat ults used in the previous fight. Iffy also did commit the Feast of the Abyss, so Silent Blaze has an opportunity to go big yet again, but it's hard. Look how much mobility is on the side of SSG. It's going to be hard to catch anybody for Blur. They could maybe play around the Captain American ult and bait that out, but ooh, no, Iffy goes down early.
And it didn't work for him there, but the idea was to switch Strange to hold on to point. And that's why, you know, sometimes teams elect to not run Strange where they have that option if they ever want to hold on. Blur able to dodge right there on the edge, Chef, and that cleanup does not come through. Looked so close to making that happen, but it does not happen. Nectar on point, able to take out Tones. Do I see a second now with some insane tracking? And Necrise finds Iffy. 2 numbers up now for the side of SSG, who want this point, and they have this point, roughly even on percentage. Once again, these teams so evenly matched right now.
I mean, they're all on the inside. SSG still has full control. Logan pops the ultimate. They're down 2 in that fight, but it doesn't matter. Regis comes back, takes down Fidel. They're able to kind of push in. Nectar comes out with the ultimate after the White Fox ult is over, but it's actually still going on a little bit. Also, huge shots from Iffy, by the way. Just pretty much one-tap Necrise. That was some beautiful tracking.
So good.
And after the ultimate, Nectar has to come back to the point
Wow.
into Iffy again. I mean, what a play by the Venom player of LuneX to keep them alive on that point.
Iffy's been known for the Venom, and finally gets to showcase that now on this map. This is very much a Venom map with a lot of height and different angles to take and swing away potential. Multiple different locations with, you know, natural cover that you can hide behind. So playing super clean. You can see the tracking there. And you can see the percentage, though, folks. SSG at 95. Now their job is to try to get an ultimate fight. What that means is they're going to build ults as much as possible and try to commit heavy in one fight to win this. Portal should be back for both sides. I'm not sure if the 3 minutes has fully committed or has gone through. I don't believe, actually, that SSG will have a portal because Nectar did it just a little bit too late. We'll see what happens here in a moment. Iffy with a nice pick, though.
Yeah, I mean, Nectar and the Daredevil, or sorry, Deadpool on the opposite side having to play back. I mean, once that taunt was used, Necrise was an easy target to dive, and Nectar double dash towards main, didn't have cooldowns to escape. Now we have the White Fox ult in an awkward situation for SSG, who has to touch the point because LuneX are in control. Silent Blaze with an ult again. Could be huge like they were in the previous round. Does, I believe, get one. Doomed falls in the middle of the fight as well, so it's 1-by-1 for SSG,
Wow.
who don't have the portal either, I believe, from earlier. So LuneX looked like they want to close out at the moment. Silent Blaze did get an eat, has turned it around these past 2 rounds and win the map. Map number 1 goes LuneX's way.
Beautiful play there by LuneX. I mean, that is what we needed to see from this team. They've just got to find a way to clutch up at the end. They were down in percentage by roughly 35%, and the idea would be, you know, the team would play a little safe, try to build ultimates and retake. But you know what happened? Iffy dove that back line, found Nectar really early on, finds another after that, and what do you know? At that point, up numbers, you take the positioning, you don't allow them to move, and you have this in the bag. Very clean play, LuneX.
Absolutely. And I think this kind of goes back to round 1, like you said, Shiv. You brought it up, and it was a good point. Like, I feel like the target focus just is not really there for SSG at the current moment. Considering how many mistakes happened from LuneX and they still made it 90-90-99, it was very impressive. And then in hindsight, it made sense why it was tough for them in the first round, and specifically Silent Blaze, because they were so stacked together as a unit. They needed Tico's pressure on those flank angles on the Psylocke. Sure, wasn't maybe getting as much value as, for example, Nectar with 15 final hits in terms of stats, but that doesn't end up mattering. He's playing the role. He's, like you mentioned, diving with Iffy at the right times. At the end of the day, stats don't really matter if you win the map, right? So excellent work, like you said, by him, and then also Regis to flex over to a lot of Daredevil, which I don't think you see a lot of hit scan players do. So huge map out of LuneX. Kind of expected them to win it because they're really good on domination. We'll see how SSG can do on map number 2 after this short break.
Once they made that switch, though, like, it just started to look so much better from them. So I love to see those compositional adaptations from LuneX.
But I kind of like them as well, switching off the Gambit, even though it was protected, onto the White Fox. Like, looking back in hindsight, the tough part is for a lot of these Gambit players is just staying alive, playing your life. If it's a full dive comp, you have to switch to more mobile characters to live, and Logan did it. Switched to the White Fox, kind of unsung hero too in that series, in that matchup. But I think we are in for a really good series, considering that is like LuneX's best map type. And for SSG, like Shibin, like you guys saw, like they're definitely looking like they want to sort of prioritize today's win and looking much improved, I think, over the past, even day.
I think it's worth mentioning too, like if you look at finals and just how much participation there was, SSG had 15 and 13 on the duelist, right? And you look over, and LuneX has 16 with Regis and then 3 with Tico. Like, they just played better as a team, and it's that simple. They stalled better. That's what that means. And that's why you can't tell the story from stats. And that's why I always say, like, it's not worth looking at that stuff because you have no idea what truly happened in the map. This team was okay going down as long as they were able to get on that point with maybe Iffy on the Venom and just stall, have the team go down around them, buy time, allow the strategist to get there, heal Iffy back up, uses more cooldowns to buy time on point. And that's all you need to do. It's not about finals. It's not about damage. It's about the win. And they took it home.
Yeah, but that goes back to what you pointed out there in the cast dog, Ben, that the target focus from SSG was just not quite there. Hence, LuneX had the opportunity to drag out those fights for such long periods of times to allow people to get back into the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know it's cliche, but it kind of comes down to fundamentals, and it comes down to preparation and practice. Like, I feel like for this SSG squad, it looked like they were maybe practicing more of the Phoenix stuff instead of like, running the Psylocke alongside the Daredevil. It's kind of not as common, I think, for these teams to do. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of on the fundamentals of the team to target, prioritize the right heroes at the right time, and also figure out that sort of situation. Like Nectar usually is very good at like living and playing their life, but as you mentioned, Shib, like first round popping off, and generally had very good stats, but still had the highest casualty count in the game. And it's hard, I think, specifically to play against like Daredevil as a Psylocke, just because that matchup, yeah. I mean, obviously it's not on the same level. Like obviously, only like low eternity for me playing a lot of Psylocke. Just I hate playing against Daredevil. Like you literally can't use one of your abilities. Like the invisibility is not viable because this dude just has wall hacks on you. So Nectar obviously marked by Redis, marked by the rest of the squad, and I think that enabled them. Whereas the opposite side for Tico, not playing for those stats, playing for the target focus, and also playing for their own life, because that's what the best players in the game do. They just try to live, and it really helped the side of LuneX on that map.
Yeah,
if we're looking at the ban phase there for this first map, is there anything you would like to see either team change, Ironship, to have maybe a better...
I've been saying for a while now, in the Americas region, I think if a team is really strong in the dive front, Venom is a bannable target. I think in EMEA and in a lot of different regions, Venom has been more of a priority for bans. I don't think it needs to be an early ban, but it's never a protect. And if you are able to remove that Venom, especially in domination where it's all about stalling, it will vastly help your team. I mean, 36k damage blocked, taking a ton of damage and buying a ton of time is super impactful. So I think, there's potential for that, but that's, again, only to get back to domination. In terms of what I want to see banned completely out, it's a tough call. I mean, because they're able to play so many different duelists on both teams. I'm not 100% sure.
That's difficult. But we saw what Ivy as well as Tones can do, right? Being able to dive onto those backlines, like, it's so oppressive. It's just so much space that is being created for the duelists to shine.
Yeah, and I don't think they need to ban the Gambit either, right, bro? Like, because neither team, even when it's through, elected to play it, which was kind of surprising.
Yeah, I kind of like that these teams aren't focusing on their protects necessarily, and this is kind of like goes back to one of my original points. Like I feel like, first of all strategists in this game are very good. Like they're all solid. Like if you compare the worst strategist to like a mid-tier duelist, like for example, if you take Rocket Raccoon versus Iron Fist, like I feel like we would all agree that Rocket Raccoon is probably way higher than Iron Fist in that sort of tier list. So in that regard, I feel like you should be able to give up on certain strong strategists just if it's not working, right? Like we saw out of Logan, like we saw out of the Mantis swap. You have to kind of make these pivots that a lot of the top teams don't make these pivots when they probably should. And I like that both of these teams are adapting on the fly.
Absolutely. Now, of course, the next map is SSG's map pick, as they are down in the series, and they chose to go to Central Park, if I saw that correctly. So a Convergence is what we're going to get. They do have currently a 100% win rate on Convergence, which that's great. But with the caveat that it is a small sample size, we only really saw him play it like, twice or so, that map type. So, yeah, take that for what it is. Alas, what do we want to see them busting out on Convergence?
Well, when it comes to Central Park, right, it's difficult because we have seen the Groot be able to be run here, too. I think it's really strong. And, Zoe, I know we're going to be diving in here in a moment. What's your guess before you go on who takes this next map?
I think SSG is going to come back with a vengeance. This one is for everything, right? They're fighting for the playoff life, so let's see if they can tie up the series.
All right, Doug, and we are in it now. We have seen LuneX find a ton of success with the Groot in the past. This is definitely one of those maps that it absolutely can be played. You can see what they're floating right now, and I'm going to be honest, I don't think any of those are going to be selected on map. Luna definitely taking a step forward in this new patch that's out as of today. But off rip, goodbye to the exact same story we would expect. Elsa and Gambit, and I will say, I was saying the Gambit may not be worth it, but I think about it now, and you get a lot more success with those ultimates, with those royal flushes on Convergence, and outside of just domination and convoy, just because it's all about pressing W and moving forward and finding that back line.
No, yeah, I'm with you. Like you got there. Like I think like when a lot of these ban phases that it's easy to forget that it is kind of map dependent, like for sure. Like it depends on where we go next and those sort of things. So, the big thing though is that you get the Gambit ban, right? And sure, the Gambit will be a lot safer, I think, on this map, especially if the Loki immediately got counterbanned. So I was going to say if they had the Loki, but regardless, like the Elsa, we've seen it throughout the tournament ship. I mean, I know that's like the most obvious thing ever to point out, but regardless of what happens in the ban phase, Gambit can be tough to deal with, especially like you said on Convergence and Convoy. But still, I'm always going to be terrified if Elsa's in the lobby, Invis ban on the opposite side, Rogue ban to counter immediately into that Gambit stuff. But we actually saw sort of, to just kind of keep riding this sort of situation on Central Park. Yesterday, we saw the very first draw, right? With 100 Thieves yesterday on this map. And I think in EU as well, in EMEA, we had another first point hold, by the way. Like inevitably it came through at the very end for like Shikigami and stuff, but we've seen teams play like Torch stuff, like Torch drone stuff. Like you can make those comps work if you play it well. And well, there we go. We have the Ultron on the opposite side to help support maybe like a defense out of LuneX.
Yeah, it's a really strong map just due to the pillars being involved. You have a lot of height that you can use natural cover around, folks. And if you're trying to get better at the game, the term natural cover is going to be very important for you, despite what position you're playing. You want to have structures that are not breakable, that you can play around, so you don't have to use cooldowns to stay healthy. This is one of those maps that on defense, Ultron can do that in the sky, and that's why Flyers, you will see some success here. We've seen it in the past from other teams, including 100 Thieves, who ran a mean Ultron. So we'll see what happens with LuneX on that composition. But yeah, goodbye to the Luna, which again, since it's a tight choke, I can see some success with the clap cooldown down the center and just some strong poke potential against things like the flying compositions of Ultron.
Okay, well, a lot more focus of the side of SSG towards these strategists. And yesterday, I think we saw like 8 strat bans at one point. I think it was the last series of the day yesterday in North America. Opposite side, LuneX focusing more maybe on specifics, right? Like we have the Elsa removal to get that one-sided matchup. Less obviously priority on focusing Tico and more of the people that try to help him. So that's kind of interesting though, in that we still get silent plays on the Jeff. It's not on domination, and I think that's kind of the big thing. They do get the team up with the Venom, but like, what do you think about that? Like, I feel like Jeff, there's certain maps where he really dominates, but like you mentioned with the natural cover, I don't know. Like, what do you feel about like on these maps where it's maybe more tight corridors?
Well, yeah, on point one, though, it's all about long LOSs with Jeff. If you can have a long spray window where you can heal, even if a lot of the times with Jeff, if you're going a divey route, you want to play behind the enemy, healing your team through the enemy to deal damage, get that out quickly. But in a map like this, there is long, straight alleyways that if you do want to run the Jeff, you can play behind your team. But it looks like that conversation was being had as we're talking and the switch comes through. But you can play and farm out pretty quickly when you're able to just essentially spray forward and they really can't move to avoid use. But, that conversation again has been changed now as Silent Blaze has switched over to the Cloak and Dagger.
It literally glossed over because I don't think we've seen this throughout the tournament. I mean, I don't remember if we saw the Luna Snowband came out as well as we enter Central Park. Like you said, Space Station trying to come back in this series. It was a close map number 1, and we immediately get to see that Groot, like you said, on the defense, and Wolverine matched on the opposite side for SSG. They're expecting it. What the? We're setting up.
What a rollout there. Beautiful. Still has the jump from Rockets. We might see a huge kidnap opportunity here with that feral leap. Not sure it actually, just kind of waiting now, biding more time. Trying to hope that they use some of these cooldowns before you commit. Nekry's on the height, using another one of those jumps to take great positioning. I'd love to see that from the offensive side of SSG, and Nekry's on the height. Iffy taking out Nectar. Nekry's onto Iffy to even the odds just a little bit. Going to be a vanguard for a duelist. And I will say, dropping Nectar, which has been very much a target for priority, is a good pick. And that's what you're looking for on SSG a lot.
Yeah, I like that set play from the side to control that height. And now back on the low ground, though, Redis almost at that full instinct, so those cooldowns are going to come up really fast. Deadpool ultimate committed, Banhammer on the front line. They have to back up, but that's still allowing Redis time to build these ultimates. That large rocks where we can see off maps. Also on the opposite side, we can still see off maps from Doom to kind of go for those grabs. Regardless, nobody picked off just yet. For the side of LuneX, though, they want to play for that double copy with the Cloak and Dagger. Space Station are going to pull them out of it or hit Cloaks with the Magneto ult.
And you can see there, folks, just the priority on breaking those walls. The free space that it generates, it needs to be a big priority for your team. Commitment comes through as the Eternal Bond goes out. A huge Glortrox opportunity here from Redis. Come on now. Finding a three-piece through the boundary. And that is an answer that you love to see for the side of LuneX. If you are a fan of LuneX, Redis looking incredibly strong on this hero. And honestly, I love to see it because we do, gas up a lot. Tico looks good too, but Redis ends up, initially it was going to be Tico on this hero. Redis ends up taking this over, and he's just been so dominant.
Yeah, it's just a clean play from him. He went fast, and now speaking of going fast, Gambit Ultimate coming into this next fight, immediately pop by month. They trade back Iffy, so they go from one fight immediately to this one where they set up Nectar aggressively with the Phoenix Ult. Disengaged, though, from LuneX's side. No portal, though, because Iffy obviously has that Venom ult, so they want to give up 2 ticks. Come back into the point, but it's against that group that you always talk about, Ship.
And there's a commitment from Nectar trying to get indoors there, because if you're forced to use ult when you're indoors, it's very difficult to burn the bird. Bang, it's coming down heavy, able to find one as Necrise takes out another. 2 pieces committed. Fidel with some great positioning is helping out Blur, take out Tones, and now SSG, without a doubt, should have this point. They do. And they're walking forward. Great attack there from Spacestation Gaming that wants to take this map and move this series forward. Again, best of 5. It's not going to be a game set match here for LuneX if they come back.
I like that. Huge tempo play from Space Station. Month took over. Obviously, he was the call to go in. But speaking of which, here's the portal now from LuneX coming back from spawn. They had the Cloak ult to last out of it, but do they get pulled out of their own Cloak and Dagger ult with Doomed or Fidel pushing them out of it?
I'd love to see this. I think this happens so much in team play. I would love to see this enter ladder a little more. If your team goes down, you lose a point, and you still haven't used the strange ult, or portal, immediately portal as soon as this point starts. Because the more time that you can buy before this thing is scooching towards point 2, the better for your team. And it's just been something we've seen a lot, but they are already driven backwards. I'm not really sure why they gave up that space back. And I guess there's the answer, as immediately SSG find one onto Iffy, and Redis able to take out Nectar, but not much more after that. Even numbers right now between the two.
Well, excellent healing to keep everybody up, but that was 3 people in that Glortrox. Unfortunately, it was the passive of the Wolverine that kept them alive, but you did find, at least like you mentioned, Nectar, and that one. Blur came back for healing. Straddle's coming up again soon for Month. They want to go fast, probably. We'll see if they can take him out of Logan's ult, though. He'll get the copy and a Silent Blaze, and for Tones, he already throws down a early Deadpool. It's actually quickly disengaged. SSG's been doing this. They're going to come back in fast afterwards.
And they are starting now as Month goes in with ultimate. The commitment gets answered right back from Silent Blaze with that Eternal Bond. Seeing a lot more Cloak and Dagger over these few days. Logan taking out Blur, committing on top of that ult as well. It was actually Logan copying up Silent there. And typically when you do see Cloak, it's when your Loki is on the table as well. You're farming ult incredibly quickly, and you can actually use it offensively and tend to lead fights with ultimate and try to drive the pressure forward, because if you can pull out a strat ult, your ultimate is typically longer. So as long as you get it in the first few seconds, you still win that trade. Tico on the Month. Iffy is going to find Necrise. Traded back from Nectar onto Tico, though. And again, it's going to be red and blue back and forth on this KO feed. But a huge tackle opportunity coming in from Doomed. And a big ult complimentary as Tones goes down.
Yeah, I mean, everybody focusing on Tones. Doom setting up a lot of these plays, obviously. Has, these straight sidelines to kind of work off of. I mean, I kind of like that Tico is on the Psylocke. Maybe he could play the Daredevil if he wants to, but at least you don't have to worry about Daredevil on the opposite side, scouting out your positioning. Wait, Doom whipped for an ult in the spawn by himself.
Yeah, paid for it too.
He had Blur with him. I wonder, the play was probably there. Maybe it looked more obvious from his POV, but still, regardless, kind of funny to see if he at least trades it back. That Meteor was just soaked by that Venom, bro.
that was kind of nasty if it was an intentional land on a moving Venom. Redis gonna find 2, though. Just so strong here on that mismatched Elsa, like he talked about. They do not want to give Redis a hero like this who's been shining.
Yeah, and he's been so smart with it. Like, I think compared to other Elsas, he pulls that trigger really fast. Obviously, it's going to be hard to hit multiple Elsa ults in a row against the side of SSG, but we'll see if he does it.
Yeah, setting up for it right now. The engagement on height here, as we see Tico with some good tracking, finds Doomed. And there is going to be, again, another Raging Royal flush. With this one, that's some value. The chase comes out from Redis once more on the Nectar. And again, just absolutely dominant on this hero. And that's going to force out every cooldown in the book here. Not sure the eat was necessary after the whole team goes down. Potential switch here. I don't know what the idea there was. I'm not sure if I agree with that from the side of Blur.
Yeah, it seemed like SSG, at least Doom specifically, looked a little bit more comfortable on that Daredevil. Now today on the Star-Lord, having to figure out yet again. But they've been slow playing it whenever they use these Gambit ults. You could see this team, maybe in terms of the Gambit comp specifically, are a bit slower with it. Also, in how LuneX is playing these Cloak and Dagger ults has been perfect. They need to pull them out of them more often than they are.
Down to 8 seconds, and there goes that advantage of getting to this point quickly with that portal. Necrise finds one. Out goes the Bond once more, the boundary to match. Just going to be stalling for the moment, and a huge opportunity here from Tico, trying to start the Cutterfly, but it's going to be on the Vanguard front line. Won't do too much now for LuneX, but they still have great positioning. Wow, Iffy, the timing of that was absolutely beautiful. 100 HP in a dream, but what do you know? Preseason has a billion HP, drops back now onto Crystal, stays healthy as Necrise finds Tico. The trade comes back from Tones onto Necrise, though. And once more, numbers roughly even. Month going to commit now with a Raging Royal flush, and SSG wants to walk forward. The kite begins for LuneX.
Yeah, backing it up at the current moment. Overtime slowly ticking. They've got Doom's ultimate. No Magneto on the opposite side, but they can still play inside angles. We'll see if Doom sets up with a good ult. Meanwhile, Blur could follow up, but Iffy has been huge. This Feast of the Abyss could end Spacestation Gaming in the second phase.
Portal commitment, this time from SSG once again. 3 minutes has ticked through. Necrise on point, is able to find Redis. That is a massive pick for SSG on a crucial target. Still biding more time, waiting for the strat line to get pushed in. There it is. More commitment, the whole team back on point. This is now looking in SSG's favor, except a commitment comes out from Silent Blaze, a crucial moment of healing as the whole team jumps on to the oh my goodness, Tones! Silent Blaze with another, and now LuneX are up in numbers, make it a third as they look like they can close out and take this stall and hold before point 2.
Oh my god, like you said, they did it. Job done. 102 meters is all SSG got. And there's a few things I think that we could take away from that fight. I mean, like you called, Chib, Tones. I mean, he was a big factor in which they won that fight. I mean, first of all, he hit the banhammer onto that Star-Lord. Star-Lord in the sky did get one, but obviously was taking damage from the rest of that ultimate. Went down because of it, got that trade. So Tones was kind of the setter of that. I think Redis made his first mistake almost on that also, like you said, he was trying to set up aggressively, maybe with that dive, but obviously got caught out, maybe opened up the space for SSG. But, dude, this like, setup between Logan and Silent Blaze with the Cloak and Dagger, with the Loki, it feels like they've won every fight they have these two ults. They have not been pulled out of a single Eternal Bond from SSG.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a cerebral team. I like that. You can tell they had discussions, right, prior to this of what they wanted to do, and that's why you saw the switching composition as soon as the fight started. It changed, went more triple van front line, elected to change up the strat back line, and then even on point 2, just locked in. Very crucial ultimates, drove and set the pace every single time, always had a longer time, and always found value throughout those strat line ults. Played even hyper aggro on cloak form after launching ult, which I highly suggest you do every time you are playing C&D, but you're just looking really good, like you're saying, buddy.
They are. Dude, you know, I was kind of thinking, like, you know, like, you know how, like, Logan gets those one-trick Loki allegations, you know? He's, like, not beating him, but, like, in a good way. You know, it's like parentheses, complimentary.
He's so good,
you know?
yeah, dude.
Yeah, he's
so
just
good.
so good on Loki.
Yeah, he's disgusting on Loki. He's definitely in the conversation. There's a few other Lokis up there, Cooper-tastic, for example, that are really, really strong. But, you know, Logan, ton of fans, I'm sure, in the chat, as always, but also just a really, really strong Loki. Let the games begin again. This time, SSG on the defense, trying to hold point 1. We've seen it before, and they clutch up right now, and there is another double group matchup on point 1.
Well, here we go. I mean, both using those walls immediately. Doom going for that grab on the right side, but trying to control some space because LuneX are so aggressive towards this point. Everybody's sort of huddled on this inside angle, but Doomed immediately forcing out Iffy's E at the very least. Maybe the rest of LuneX trying to control high ground. Doom trying to counter it, but taking a lot of poke for it.
Oh, what a shot there from Necrise onto Redis. Set the tone, put them up a number. Huge tackle as well from Doomed. Redis able to find Nectar with a trap, which is so funny. Even while not being in that fight, still making something work out and finding a final. But there's a lot of commitment, I think. I mean, it'd be surprised if LuneX is able to hold on here. This is one of those moments where I'm talking about where, you know, you can see SSG gets a ton of finals, but somehow LuneX are still in the fight. And Logan finds one, and now another one comes in from Tico. How do they do this down numbers and ultimates as a whole? It's just such good communication.
And they have to touch. Brutal pushes them. Well, actually, they're still on the point, but the Gambit ult on the opposite side. And the cleanse Shib to get out of that Brutal. So they come back into the point. The Cloak ult helps sustain at least a few people who are here, but what a cleanse by the side of Month to keep them up in this. Doomed with the ultimate afterwards. The last stand to help follow through into Iffy. Tone's trying to trade it back on the opposite side, but it might be too little too late for the offense as LuneX probably reset even with this portal coming out of SSG.
Doomed, yep, like you're saying, finding Redis there. They do have the retake. Great work by SSG, but did have to commit. A lot of cooldowns and portal to get there. Alt advantage in their favor, but you know what all is my most feared? Going to be that Predator. And you can see Redis coming in right now, waiting to unleash the Glartrox. Will this Glartrox be as big as some of those we've seen from him in the past? We'll find out in a moment. Necrise has ult available. Fidel with the Invisible Boundary, but again, I think Invisible Boundary struggles heavily into Apex Predator. We'll see if he waits. No, elects not to. Ooh, throws it through, and this time catches nothing. That's what we call a caster curse, folks.
Well, it happens. I mean, people act like the Elsa ult is really strong, which it is, but, you know, it's very hard to be consistent with it. Obviously, that situation forced it out too early. Now they win the next fight because of it, so yeah.
Especially all tracking, too, right? But, like, I mean, like, when you're tracking it, they know, and that's why they're playing so safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Next fight coming up, though, Shiv. Minute 30 left to go. Ultimate's available for LuneX. They can go aggressive with Silent Blaze's ult. But SSG, they look like they want to make the move first. Here comes that ult. Let's see if Doom pulls somebody off the map, but Invisible Boundary met by Fidel.
And here we go. Fidel is maintaining this position. Out goes that boundary, like you're saying. Holding on his tones, commits now. Banhammer works out as Fidel goes down. Goodbye to that boundary. Huge opportunity for an eye. Does that yes, it does convert as Doomed finds one. Tico onto Necrise, though. Crystals get committed now, too. Everything getting launched out as Month. Starts out with a Raging Royal Flush. Doomed is going to find some value out of it. Month as well. And oh my goodness, right now, 51 seconds on. Redis trying to stop anyone from coming into the fight. I don't know that the portal's even available yet, if that was the idea.
Here?
I'm not quite sure. He's going to pay for it and just kind of stagger there.
Wait, that is crazy. I mean, maybe they would have lost the fight regardless. That is insane. I don't know. Like, Tico also, by the way, played that first fight smart a little bit because, like, he waited to get the health back, obviously. But yeah, that is an interesting, very aggressive play by Redis, who now swaps over to the Daredevil. So they want to go for a full dive this upcoming fight, Shib. Against no ultimates on SSG. Maybe with a copy, they can play aggro.
Here we go again. There is some ults being committed. Out goes that Bond. And Iffy with the feast, but no one goes down, not yet, as Blur does pay for it. All three go down. Redis, Tico, Iffy, Logan, Silent Blaze, everybody getting a piece of the pie as Tones does as well, and that might have been the whole roster there. They will get this point.
Not a bad hold, though, for SSG. I mean, this could be close in the second phase. Ultimates used. They used the Feast of the Abyss. They also used Copy, and also Tico went aggressive. Now swaps over to the Elsa, so they swapped it around, Shib. Redis the one on the Daredevil, Tico onto that Elsa. Logan now over to that White Fox again, so trying to play their more mobile composition like they did on Domination, except this time it's with the Elsa instead of a Psylocke combination.
I like it because they won the alt trade there, the alt fight, which is, you know, heavily in their favor just in terms of percentages of what should have been won. So now they're like, all right, we got to try to win more neutral. Let's change things up here, and they do. Silent Blaze able to find Blur. Redis onto Month again. Redis with 3. What is going on here? As Iffy and Logan clean up the rest, and that is why that switch was so crucial. Redis can play it all.
I mean, this Angela stuff is just not really working for Necrise. Maybe with this ult, it could be big. Blur as well, by the way, was a standout player, I think, from the group stages for this team, but has been a little silent compared to Iffy. Coming to this upcoming fight, Redis has the ult, but can Necrise find the connection? Everybody's playing mobile around it to not get hit, and oh my goodness, Necrise barely lives.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't love the Angela right now in this current meta. It just seems to be struggling a bit at this level of play. A lot of commitment, though, from the side of Tones. Finding Fidel, that's a huge pick, who was at 80%. And you may be saying, man, they get lucky. They always seem to find those who are close to ultimate, folks. That is intentional. They are tracking that as Logan finds Month once more. Redis onto Doomed, Iffy onto Necrise, and this switch is ever in their favor. That's going to be a team wipe once more, and they are closing in with a minute left. SSG, it's not over, though. Does have ult available from Necrise. Month is incredibly close, and same with Fidel.
But seriously, like, where is my Angel in that fight? We can combine with the Phoenix ult at least, maybe. Regardless, still has it. Has to show up huge this fight, but LuneX is setting on the back line of the Feast of the Abyss.
And here we go, starting up now. With the HGF from Silent Blaze, I like to use it to just take a backward angle, using that to hide through. Logan finding 2, Nectar onto Redis, Iffy onto Blur, Logan again, and this might be it, folks. LuneX shutting this down quickly, and they do. Another W here for LuneX Gaming. That looks so clean right now.
Oh, I'm kind of in awe, man. Like, it's back and forth, like you said, like LuneX playing so smart. I think a lot of these teams, by the way, have a bit of a cloak and dagger sort of thing. They love to play cloak and dagger and Jeff. This is the kind of two things they love to play. Logan as well, phenomenal. At the very end, finally, Necrise tried to get off that Heaven's Fall, you know, the Heaven's Retribution from the sky, but it got canceled by the charm. He hit him with the White Fox charm, MVP'd that round. Opposite side, Necrise will be the MVP. I don't think the Angela is necessarily bad. It's just only bad if you don't play like the Ultron Sky composition with like the Human Torch that we saw in EMEA. Regardless, SSG not looking so good on that second phase. They almost held first point ship and still faltered. So really tough to go down 0-2. Regardless, they seem like they're always in these, right? Like they have a chance, but sorry, we'll talk about it more after we come back from this break. Can SSG reverse sweep? LuneX up 2, trying to close out after this.
Match point in this best of 5 elimination match against SSG. So this is where we ended last time around, right? It was a 2-0 victory for LuneX, but now SSG has to dig deep. Let's talk about how LuneX got it done, because it's not like SSG played like woefully bad or anything, right? It was like little target fire that wasn't there. Maybe a few of the picks we're not quite agreeing with. I think you both pointed out to Angela that you just didn't really see the value in it right there. Is there anything obvious they need to clean up in order to bring it back here?
I think just to, like, I feel like when we saw EMEA, we saw these teams that were really good. It's obviously map dependent stuff, but I feel like we need to get rid of like the Cloak and Dagger even. That could be a last potential fourth ban. I mean, I like the shout of Venom that you brought up earlier, Shib, if you want to go into that too. I think one of these decisions just has to be made to give them an edge.
Yeah, I just think the pressure that is being applied, and I honestly do think that the strat line of the side of Silent Blaze and Logan in that map particularly was a win condition for sure. But outside of that, I will say that the pressure that's applied from Tones and Iffy, they really, outside of the group that's being played on point 1, which they almost didn't push through point 1, right? But once they go to their comfort picks after that, they have that Venom, that Van Pool. The backline is struggling to stay healthy. Like, it's not necessarily that they're going down a bunch of times, but they are constantly just playing their own life. They can't look forward, and that is a problem. If you can't get on top of things like Iffy, who's absolutely on the back line 24/7, 11 finals there, you can't look forward to your own vanguards. Like Blur was 8-8 because he couldn't stay up. He couldn't provide enough pressure because no one was able to heal him because they're just constantly being dove on. It's just a really difficult comp to push through.
It seems so relentless, right? With the vanguards and the backline constantly, and then obviously having Rita's being so flexible, like switching over to the Daredevil again, like just wreaking havoc there. Everything seems to be clicking. They're winning neutral fights. They're winning everything, really. So this is difficult for SSG to really like hone in on a focus in a ban phase, because they have heavily once again focused on the backline, right? They have been focusing on the strategist bans.
I think that's like, it's almost working, but like I said, I think they just need to, well, first of all, not give Elsa to Ritas. Yeah, like you said, Zoe, like that guy's just nasty on it. Can't really give any team Elsa, it seems like. I feel like if we look at the stats, it's got to be 80+% win rate, and obviously it depends on per team, but the Gambit stuff, maybe it's not necessarily going to, I'm not going to say it's falling off, but like specifically once you get rid of that rogue team up, once you maybe force them onto the mag, because the mag team up is good still, but not as strong probably. It's not as obviously OP as like maybe the Elsa stuff is, and especially if you're not going to play Mantis alongside the Phoenix, which gets the damage boost. I'm just not as big of a fan as what they're doing. Like I said, we saw in EU they would ban out like Cloak and Dagger sometimes at the very end, and I think that might be a good play considering Silent Blaze. He's shown a lot of very good Cloak and Dagger play, a lot of good White Fox gameplay, but obviously Logan playing a lot of the White Fox, and then on the Jeff, Silent Blaze is doing good. So I just think maybe focusing on one of those two heroes would really benefit the side of SSG and would result in potentially coming back.
It looks like you can't ban out their backline too, right, guys? Like, I mean, like the backline still gets MVP. Logan MVPs that, and I also think as a team, their whole side is doing a great job of marking Nectar. Like, Nectar has been heavily struggling in these matchups and getting KO'd a ton. I think there's just a great emphasis on tracking Nectar, who's trying to play. It's really difficult to play Psylocke into a team that's not afraid to play Loki and also DD that can track you, and they are absolutely taking advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, what haven't they tried, right? Like, now I guess you have to focus on banning out the Vanguards, but there's so much flexibility there as well between Iffy and Tones. They've been showing us that they can basically play it all, right? So Yeah, this is an uphill battle for SSG, which are finding themselves in this position to, I believe, most people surprised. I think most people would have picked SSG for this one, and they did expect them to just like move on. And then I think LuneX has still been like kind of just not laughed at, but smiled at, I guess. Like, oh, it might have been a fluke. Maybe like other teams just didn't show up on match day. But like, I think they're really proving right now that they're the real deal.
They are, man. Like, this team is so good. We're going to Midtown next, by the way, and I think it was either between Midtown or like maybe Museum of Contemplation when we go to another convoy map. But this is obviously the last map in our pool that we could pick from. You know, in the first 3 games, you know, you start on Domination, you could choose between Convoy and Convergence. They chose Convergence in Central Park, did not win. Now we're going to Convoy on Midtown, their last sort of diverse map pick now. And they've done well on this map, right, Zoe? Like, I feel like this team can be good here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw them win and lose. Again, like, not the biggest sample size. They might have played it like 4 or 5 times, so it's not an awful lot to go off. But yeah, I think overall there's definitely a lot of comfort there for the individual players as well, just historically. So I'm interested to see what they have in store for us.
Mm-hmm. I feel like small sample size would be a good nickname for me, you know, like for like a short king, like J3 maybe. Maybe we can call him, instead of Focally Challenge, we can call him like the short sample size, small sample size.
Sample size.
Small sample size. Yeah.
Amuse bouche. He's the amuse bouche of the streamers. Just a little treat for what's to come. I do love that. I call myself vertically challenged usually.
I like that.
That could be the name of our band, guys.
Yeah. How tall you're giving tall people energy. I run ship.
Yeah, keep that.
Oh, totally. Yeah, no, let's live and breathe
Are you
that.
One of us?
Oh God, I love you for that. Yeah, absolutely. Let's pretend like that's so true.
So true. As far as our viewers are concerned, none of us have legs, right? Like they only ever see. So like they will never know. They'll never know.
I'm terrified.
Well, SSG has to put on their big boy pants for this one. They have to show up big, taking down LuneX in an attempt of a reverse sweep in this potentially last and final map.
All right, my friend, and we go into the band phase. As always, it's great talking to Zoe. Incredibly fun conversation, but you know what else is fun? Is it potential reverse sweep or a full shutout by a team that, you know what, kind of was slept on. And the Gambit ban off the rip there from LuneX and the removal of Elsa is pretty consistent at this point.
Yeah, so his only problem is that she doesn't have legs. You know, which I got no problems with that, but I mean, obviously, it's just a concern. I think in terms of going places.
None of us casters do, exactly.
No, yeah. LuneX though in the ban phase, going for that Gambit ban again, and Spacestation. Actually, sorry, that's the change up. Never mind. Didn't LuneX first ban Elsa last map? So SSG are the ones to play the Elsa on a more long range map, which is definitely like kind of interesting for LuneX, considering I think they would even swap off the Gambit comps in that first domination map and immediately met by that Invisible Woman ban early on.
Yeah, this is going to be a change here for sure. I'm wondering, it all depends on what they've seen in scrims and, their comfort map choice. And this has the potential to see some triple comps, triple Vanguard. It's been typically triple Vanguard, 1 duelist, 2 strats. But, you run that when you have the Elsa available. So we can see what SSG wants to do when they're defending. We'll look at what LuneX elects to do in a moment. But the idea for SSG is have a spawn break composition. Every team has one. I always look forward to looking seeing what they are. But I'm excited as we are starting up again, back against the wall here for SSG. We have seen teams step up in these moments, and we've seen teams that squander them. LuneX, after day one, kind of looked like a team that squandered them, but they look insane right now, and they are going to be able to play that rogue with the Gambit, and that's exciting as well.
Yeah, why did they immediately go? I mean, I understand Invis is a super strong hero. A lot of people think that character needs to get permabanned. Spacestation Gaming look like they kind of are reacting more to what LuneX are doing instead of thinking about what to do against specific compositions. Because it's like you said, and we've seen tones pop up before on the rogue, especially with the Gambit team up. Does feel like a small mistake in that regard, but they're immediately going to go for that Star-Lord band at the very end. I think, it can be good, but we still allow tank pull to get through and stuff. Like, I think you can counter with other regards, other means. But still, I think you mentioned at the beginning, like, LuneX's ban phase looking good so far. I mean, the only downside is they did get that Elsa through, and that could be the nail and coffin off the rip, as we've seen in the past. But Wolverine protect at the very end for SSG in case there's some Groot stuff that I know that you've pointed out before.
Yeah, I think Groot, hasn't really been removed completely from the very top level meta. I think Groot is such a problem and can take so much space and shut down a lot of LOSs, especially if you try to run, some more unique compositions. If you don't have heavy wall break, teams will struggle, but you can exploit it, like you're saying, with things like the Wolverine as an answer. And in general, against triple Vanguard comps, it's always a good option. Iron Fist we've seen in the past as a decent option with percent-based damage, but Wolverine in the recent changes has just had a leg up. But here we go, folks. LuneX on defense first. Looks like they are thinking about running potentially a triple Vanguard comp. We'll see what that looks like in a moment. I'm not sure Redis is going to be on the Spidey, but at least showing it for now. And the break composition of SSG does have that Wolverine.
Yeah, I'm curious what LuneX do on the defense. Only worrisome factor is that, I'm pretty sure, like in the history of this team, whenever they do put Tico on Phoenix, I mean, I've liked it, but also considering this map and what this team relies on, it's not necessarily like the strength out of Silent Blaze's hero pool, I guess, is my only concern. Like, White Fox is really good, but when we're talking about a map that's like very sort of linear, and the off angles are a bit closer to the main street, obviously, I feel like White Fox does a lot better on those like hard flank angles and stuff where you can go back to the team and stuff. And this is a good map, I think, for SSG to pick, because we not only get Nectar in the one-sided Elsa match, but we also get a deal with maybe an easier backline for LuneX.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's crazy because it's such a mental game as well. And it really is. It's not only just momentum based, it's also who's playing well in the day. Nectar hasn't been able to shine so much yet today, although I do believe they are one of the best duelists up here at this, level play. But maybe they're just not too worried about it. As Redis goes down early, Blur with some nice commitment there on offense is going to play exclusively to shut down that DD, and that's going to be the idea. Really good comms and great play there, and a huge fastball special potential from Doomed. Out goes a lot of commitment in terms of cooldowns and stays healthy without using the passive.
They're going to play it slow. You see Redis trying to swap to something else that's not DD just because of, like you said, that the thing. And the thing specifically on Midtown as well is always going to be tough. We need to be able to burst them down. And we actually saw, I believe, Navi doing this with Terra on the Punisher. We've not seen a ton of Punisher this tournament so far, but it can kind of work in the situation. However, it's not going to work now, though. You lose to Tico again. Another stagger pick for LuneX early on.
Yeah, Nectar hard committing right now, trying to get some vengeance. Does find a two-piece, and this is what we expected when we saw this come through. Necry's walking forward. Good space taken here. I believe this is a pretty strong Emma map as well. Very brawl-focused, and that's why you do see Thing getting some play. And they get that point just in record time, buddy. 5 minutes on the clock here for SSG as Nectar finds another.
This is, the ban phase, I feel like we were talking about it being not that big of a deal, but it is a big deal when you screw up and you let Elsa through sometimes. However, we trade to Phoenix and the Meteor M to find that Nectar tosses out a large rocks. That was a little forced, but regardless, they still have card space at the current moment, can wait for spawns. LuneX finally have ultimates as well coming in after that Meteor combination over Spacestation Gaming, but we'll see if they can string together some fights with some fast-paced aggression out of Logan and Redis.
Yeah, I didn't have eyes on. I have no idea where that Glartrox was launched at, but that was a risky angle without a doubt, no matter what. But either way, finding a few picks early on, potentially trying to just make a play happen as a lot of commitment comes out. Out goes the thighs out, cries out from Emma. Match right back by the judgment as we do see Redis with two. My goodness, we haven't seen a lot of Punisher play, but last time we did, it was this exact situation. They get walked in a bit. Redis pulls out the Punisher and excels, although they didn't win last time. See if it works out for him now. Just trying to put a ton of damage out into the Thing. And yes, it's working. Redis with a quad in that set of plays. Just looking like just insane tracking, dude.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, at the moment, their ult combinations are working out so well. I mean, they combine the Meteor M and the Phoenix ult. Now we combine Raging Roll Flush and the final judgment from Redis. So now they get to also maybe stagger out even more ults out of Spacestation Gaming here, switching over to Ultron for Doomed, switching up to that triple composition with the Mantis and the Groot. So fast switch up, and every team in the playoffs are doing this at the current moment. These, really last-ditch reactions. We'll see if maybe the Wolverine comes out later for LuneX.
And here comes the Camino Unleashed. Will this one find value? It's just going to keep the team moving right now. Again, not getting too much value yet, but you can right-click teammates to give them CC immunity. Nice pick there from Blur, who is going to be able to drop backwards, stay healthy at the current moment. Still kind of gets body blocked into that corner and does pay for it as Logan finds one. Even through the healing from Doomed is nutty, but Silent Blaze goes down too. And that is going to be a nice ult there. Going to buy them enough space to move forward and shove them into their spawn. A huge ult opportunity, able to find one from Nectar. I thought I was going to get a few more, but pulls it back to be safe, and you kind of need to do that with the reduction in health on the Glartrox now.
Well, there we go. This was, oh my god, just aggressive plays from Nectar with the Mantis damage boost, just going ham. This is what I thought out of LuneX. They'd switch to the Wolverine. Spacestation Gaming, though, I mean, the thing is, Groot, we've seen how strong it is, regardless of this character being in the game without Invis. And yeah, I mean, Nectar just keep going so far, all the way in their own spawn, third phase. Are you kidding?
Like, what is this? Just past their spawn door, still finding value. This is just pulling so much attention, right? And that heal wall's up, right? You do have the Mantis on your team, folks. If you have that team up, it's not about just the healing numbers. It's about farming Groot ult.
Wait, they're going to cap the point? Did everybody fall back? Okay, they're still on the point. I don't know if what Nectar's doing is actually good or not. It's definitely interesting, but they lost Blur again. And Nectar's still alive back there, by the way. I just want to... I need like a Nectar POV, please. Can we get Nectar cam? What is he doing in third point? Are they still there? They are. They're still back there waiting for the fight. Here's a Meteor M from Nectar. They're still trying to win without Blur, but they're missing a lot of the damage dealer. There's Nectar. Shows up. Okay. Jump scare.
What is this, dude? What are we seeing? Come on now, Nectar. What is this? Finding so many KOs. Just a dominant performance. Coming back with a vengeance here on game 3. Nectar is popping off and making a name for themselves. Come on.
That was a little weird. It was a little funky, little monkey out of Spacestation Gaming. And for LuneX, I mean, obviously that aided them, aided them like a parasite stuck in the brain. Now they come through with the portal opposite side of the cart. Oh my goodness, and again.
You can't give Nectar this hero either. It's just too much damage right now. Trying to mark now with the DD, and that's going to be the answer that they need. A pick comes through now from the side of SSG, make it 5 after a brief moment, and they're still walking with 2 minutes and 30 seconds on, trying to find a full cap here, putting them in a good spot. Very much an offensive style map if you get it rolling. LuneX does have even ultimates. They'll have almost every single ult besides Tones, which gains very quickly here in this next fight.
Well, the problem is that SSG are playing comp. I think that was popularized a lot last week with the Mantis and Ultron and stuff. Haven't seen it as much in EU and EMEA, but over here, I think this comp is very hard to beat. For LuneX, I mean, maybe they could set up Tones or something, but with a damage boost in the sky, Doomed is going to force everybody to fall back, and they have to actually go aggressive with Redis alongside the Raging Roll Flush, but can't even find KOs through the Mantis.
Now, the commitment comes in with the Endsong Inferno. Doesn't seem to get much value besides pulling out cooldowns. The team is walking. You should see a decent Strangling Prison opportunity here after all this gets used. And there is going to be the first pick, but this time on the side of LuneX on the defense, who are coming back with a vengeance. But there's still a ton of time on for point 3 here. If he's able to find Necrise, the team just going to drop back as a unit once more. Reset on spawn, excuse me. But we will see Tones have an availability in terms of ultimate. If that's able to land right now and not be caught by Necrise, who's very close to that Meteor M, which is a decent answer. As soon as you see a group being a little more aggro, you know to hover that Q button and try to eat that ultimate with your Meteor M and get a 2-for-1 situation. We'll see if that works here in this fight. But if Tones can land it, could be a huge problem.
Well, I wonder if they're going to try to sync up Tico and Iffy's ults, but there's the Groot ult, like you said. Here comes the Meteor M, so no, both Meteor M's match each other in the sky. Oh! LeBron James against LeBron James. Necrise takes Iffy down out of the sky. Interesting mirror matchup. Works out for the side of SSG. Now 50 seconds left to go.
Come on, that is a huge land and a clutch moment right there. Just taking and still owning the space. Now Blur has the opportunity to land a Strangling Prison, does that right after breaking that Ironwood wall. Knew it would be worth it at that moment, but it isn't because, and there's just a huge return to the Raging Royal Flush to cleanse that CC and get them walking 40 seconds. And a dream right now for the attacking side of SSG. Committing that Rage of Ultron maybe just a little bit too later. A little too greedy as Nectar falls. Tones gets another. And now LuneX are stepping back heavy and do have Endsong Inferno soon to have to let the devil out and Kamiho Unleashed.
I think this Gambit is also starting to show up on this third phase. The pace of play is definitely upped by them. And SSG, like you said, having ult soon, but now here's an aggressive play on the opposite side. Here comes the Phoenix ult. Gets deleted out of the sky, though, luckily for them. But regardless, they lose Blur early on. And here's that White Fox in your back line. You do have Mantis to at least sustain and draw out this fight a little bit longer towards the cart. But you have to switch to full stall. Nectar does get Redis at the very least. That's so much damage gone. Tone tries to drop out a Strangling Prison. There's bubbles here, but it's 2 strategists. Are they still alive? The answer is actually yes. Iffy inside the plays goes down.
Necrise, that was dirty too. Some great tracking there. Month and Doomed able to find 2 more. OT now, folks. A lot of ults going to be available here for LuneX, or excuse me, for SSG. And yes, this is going to be a stagger fest. I do believe odds are very much in their favor to push all the way, and they do. They can't even touch there with the Venom, who was right next to the point.
Oh man, I mean, LuneX were starting to string together fight after fight. Like you had to feel confident in their play with the Gambit and the fact they found Blur's pick. But the moment Regis went a little bit too far, got picked off, they had no follow up for these for the Strangling Prisons with those 3 Strategists alongside the White Fox shield in there, and then they all played around it. So I thought the Gambit was starting to look better. Obviously, a lot of the Strangling Prisons on the offense were getting cleansed off by Logan. Excellent reads to avoid those. But regardless, job got done from the side of Spacestation Gaming, who switched over to defense now after a grueling first attack ship because of what we saw Nectar do with the damage boost throughout first and second phase.
And here's the weird dichotomy about what's about to happen. SSG pushes it the whole way. But you know what just seems to happen on ladder, buddy, is you get confident. You're like, all right, we just need to stop them before point 3. You play a little bit on your heels, and next thing you know, we're in overtime. And this seems to happen time and time again. And I'm looking forward to seeing if LuneX can make that work. I do think Rogue just typically plays more to her strengths on offense, because you can press W a little more, get on top of those strat lines, use that Heartbreaker to pull some of that strat cooldown in terms of, or ultimate charge, I should say. And you get more value out of it. So we'll see if that is the case. But as I'm saying that, no, the switch up from Tones is just going to be for Rocket for the brief moment to give everyone the jump pack that they need. But we'll be going back to that Rogue shortly. But we'll see if it works out for them on the offensive side.
Yeah, it should. But Silent Blaze going back over to the White Fox for the attacking side. And like you mentioned, Chip, I mean, they can control these off angles a little bit more. But right now, I think SSG's comp is just solid at dealing with most things, unless Doom doesn't, like you said, take advantage of this in the sky. You know, have perfect ults kind of also to bait out other strat ults in the opposite side, maybe even to find KOs with a damage boost. So I'd like to see a little bit more of him and Month on this defensive hold.
I'm with you there, buddy. As the fight begins now, holding around the bend a little bit. You see sometimes teams holding a little bit tighter to try to play around that cover, but instead they're going to be driven back quickly towards the ambulance. A lot of teams try to run these triple comps, hold inside that doorway, and then have a second fight here at the ambulance, but things have vastly changed here in the preseason. Nice. I'm not sure just due to meta if that's why, but they always seem to take this fight more close to the ambulance and making it a 2-fight location instead of a guaranteed 3. But it just is the way the cookie crumbles right now. Alt charge going to be up here for LuneX as Logan is very close to ultimate right now off the rip.
I mean, like I said, the teamwork, the synergy, especially when they play White Fox, help Tico to control the off angles. Okay, Tones gets frozen, though. On the low ground to Fidel. Excellent job freezing him.
Oh,
Gambit,
wow. Yeah.
Gambit never folds. That's a fold straight. He folded. That's going to be police report. His body is going to be taped up. So excellent
Pocket
work
aces.
from SSG. Yep.
Pocket Aces immediate fold there. You don't love that. That is a huge W for SSG on the defense. And I don't know if I even agree with that after you lose 2 off the rip. I think it was 1, but either way, the team was very low. I think the idea was, all right, let's just try to force this out before they get ults. And clearly was not the right call with some great tracking and just target prio in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, this map is definitely working out for the side of SSG because of the fact that it's so linear. You do bring back Veritas with that res, by the way, because Silent Blaze is on the Rocket Raccoon because they don't have any flankers to find that BRB. That's at least used, but Doom to this guy, look at that. Oh, dinner time is also met by Rage, so they have the follow-up there. Here's the Phoenix ult in the sky, though, to dive deep maybe onto the back line, or at least wait it out, play for their own life. Does get broken out of it, but it's kind of 1-for-1. We'll see whose root gets their ult off. Here comes Blur, does throw it out. Meteor not in time, or actually is to dunk on it, but nobody goes down. Excellent job to tank all of that for the Vanguard's counter Groot ult from Iffy on that side. Shield off, but no.
Well
Nectar
done.
still falls to Tico, and Regis also takes down Necrise with a pick-off.
Yeah, that was really well done. It's just as simple as that. All right, now the retake comes through, though. Can they get to this point? I don't believe they can. They cannot. Or yes. Oh, no, they cannot. Yeah, great walls, and that's the upside to Groot, right? That free space. Right at those really crucial moments, you need and just a meter to get there, but you can't do it because there's too many walls in your way. And that's going to be another pick there from Silent Blaze onto Doom, Tico onto Fidel, and now LuneX have a vengeance. But again, SSG had 5 minutes, 12 seconds, 3 minutes, and 45 here for LuneX on this attack.
Yeah, the wolf stuff can still work, especially if Necrise gets picked off in that last situation. Nectar, okay. Again, I mean, he's just gone hunting for Logan. I feel like Logan has just gotten shut down by Nectar 3 times in a row now.
There's that Heartbreaker coming in immediately, though, from LuneX, trying to make sure they can stop some of these alt charge gain situations, put them in an advantageous position. But there is that Raging Royal Flush after coming back from the side of Logan. Iffy able to take out Nectar as Iffy gets a 2-piece. Tico onto Doom, and Tico again. Iffy and Tico now stepping up in this moment as Fidel cleans up 1, but it won't matter as another pick comes through from Iffy on the Groot. Maybe is the tree. I am Groot potentially from the side of LuneX, who want this space and have plenty of time right now for this point 2.
Yeah, this is the thing we pointed out of LuneX in the past. Whenever if he does well, the team seems to follow. And, it makes sense. Obviously, we group with the team play. Tico sitting on the flank, though, Shib. Ready to go with an ultimate against Spacestation Gaming, who are grouped up together.
Yeah, this is getting intense. And we talked about maybe playing a bit on your heels when you feel like you had this happen. And Tone's able to find 2. And Silent Blaze able to res back Tico after the early pick. So numbers still in their favor. Huge positive. Wait, they just got the point. Oh, my goodness. Wow.
But LuneX are running like very interesting backline compositions, but they're working perfectly due to the situations they're in, right? Like the fact that, like you said, the BRB is uncontested, there's nobody to find it, and the pause comes out. Also excellent work from Galactica behind the scenes to pause the game at a crucial moment, but I imagine there's some probably technical difficulties or something happening in the game. But 4 minutes now, Shib, for the side of LuneX in third point. So excellent work from them.
Yeah, I mean, this is very much one of those situations that, like I said, dude, for some reason, when teams push all 3 points here, they just play a little safe and the team exploits it. There is plenty of time for them to get point 3, but I think it is incredibly difficult to get point 3 on this map. I think Groot is one of those answers to this map that allows you to do it, because if you have walls in those moments where a touch means everything, especially with more of a survivable comp, you can win the map, and that's what both sides are using right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think that they're taking advantage of the situation they're in. Also, like, I mean, teams try to like kind of hard focus on like running the meta strategists without thinking about why they're played. And for LuneX, like obviously you don't really think you want to play Rocket Raccoon in the current patch, but because of the situation they're in, like we said, this was kind of something we saw in the grand finals, even at the mid-season. Teams are starting to kind of realize if they don't have any flankers, we could just drop BRB back in a safe spot, nobody can hunt it, and then we get the free res off. And yeah, we don't get as good of an ultimate, but it may not matter if we're always up 1 in every single fight. So first of all, that's big. Considering as well, because like LuneX were trying to fight hard for these off angles and it wasn't really working on their defense, but now they swapped off the White Fox, which everybody would consider a very strong hero. It just wasn't working in that matchup, right? Because of the fact there's so much damage coming down range, right?
Yeah, I'm 100% behind that. And I think a lot of the wins that were coming through from SSG were off the back of Nectar getting an insanely early pick, them having numbers advantage and just walking them down. And so when you have that BRB, you start to walk. I think instinctively it's tricky, right? Because when BRB's in play, sometimes you don't know whether they're within range or whatever the case may be. You get the pick and you just instinctively start walking thinking you have numbers advantage. And then you play a little bit sloppy because you are actually even in numbers. You're pressing a little bit too hard and you lose the fight. And that's kind of been the value of Rocket. I think Rocket took a seat back a little bit when Phoenix was consistently played, but Phoenix, not as frequent right now, although is being played by LuneX, who also have that Rocket, right? So it's tricky. It's really working for him on this attack. I'm looking forward to seeing what this looks like on point 3, because the team is likely going to try to either portal close to where this point is, try to hold them at their spawn door, or try to get there quickly, because you need to buy time right now. There's how much? It's almost 4 full minutes on point 3, dude. That is just so much time. That is.
They really should make something up, but they've kind of staggered. Like, it was the same problem that I think that LuneX were having on the previous 2 maps. Where they would stagger a lot and can't switch off compositions. Because I think when they were on the offense, and same thing for LuneX, both teams would think we're doing a good job kind of going back and forth, kind of counter-comping a little bit. SSG have kind of stopped that. They figured out this is the best comp that they could play, but there are weaknesses to it, right? Obviously, like I feel like Doomed hasn't been as effective on the Ultron, specifically against LuneX's comp, whether it be the glue, whether it be mainly Tones. I feel like Tones is soaking so much damage. I mean, the survivability of Rogue with the team-up seems crazy, right? Like, you could do so much.
Yeah, I mean, it does make your threat to Ultron ever more present, because you can get up in the sky and a couple kicks now with that extra damage from the team up, you're deleted.
Well, what's the best, like, maybe rogue counter that we could see out of the side of SSG in your opinion, Shib? Like, do we go back to the Thing even instead of the Groot, or do you think that's too big of a swap up because he's been doing well on Groot?
It's tricky, right? Because, like, you want to, it's essentially like a dive brawl, like a rush style hero. So you think like, oh, maybe Emma, maybe Thing, but she has a ton of movement, and if you're playing properly, you can. What's that?
Maybe Hulk.
Yeah, Hulk's not horrendous either. Yeah, it's similar to like how you'd mark Cap with Hulk. I think Cap actually struggles into a good Hulk, because you can really trace down, exile in those moments and keep the pressure on. But it's, is that comfortable for your team, right? That's where things get dicey, and that's why we always say the teams that have the most flexibility typically are the teams that excel in this current meta, because there is so much viable heroes to play, so many viable heroes to play.
Absolutely. There's a lot of decisions, and you kind of almost get overwhelmed in terms of the decisions you have to do, right? Like, that's the tough part for a lot of these squads, but the most flexible teams seem to have the most success. We're getting back into it. Apologies for the yap session, but we're going to keep going with the yap session, actually, because it's 3 minutes and 45 seconds left in third phase, like you said, Shib. And this is SGSG's tournament, life on the line. Obviously, if they stop LuneX here, they'll feel much more grateful instead of having to switch back and forth yet again on offense and defense.
Yeah, they need the momentum here. And right now the momentum's right back into LuneX, who have taken the advice of yesterday, getting that confidence back and clutching up in moments where they've been dicey. And they are making it work. If he finds one, doomed another onto Tones there. But look at this space that's happening instantaneously, dude. That's going to be a pick, but they're getting so much room. They're not being able to be held at that spawn door. Their first fight's going to be around the first bend, but you know, this is a time, yeah, now they're going to move them forward. They're going to cap this point, allow it to slowly move backwards and take the fight right here around this natural cover by the spawn door. It's tricky. This is that lane that certain heroes really do excel at, including things like the Groot on defense from Blur. There is a ton of ults available here for SSG, but the problem is going to be that Logan combination with Regis, which could be massive here with that huge Wolverine play. Let's see if it happens right now.
They go in with it immediately. The switch up, and there's that Groot ultimate. Oh my goodness, that was it eaten or just hit the Luna in that fight? So excellent job from the team, regardless, not get hit by it. Here comes Tones into the back line with the ultimate, does get shut down immediately. In the switch up, and with Doom going over to the Phoenix, panned out for them so far, with Month also switching off of the Mantis.
And here we go once more. Month does have ult available. Out goes that Sia. Ending with the End Song Inferno, a decent combination. Nectar able to find, look at this positioning, by the way. Tico, Month onto Regis. That's really strong positioning there with great target prio. Able to find one, trying to find a flank angle, and the movement is just, the movement, right? It's just disgusting. Another chase down, Doomed with a huge dagger. Oh my, somebody stop them as Nectar once again finds Logan.
It's actually D-Wade LeBron. Too many basketball references, sorry, but excellent work from those two. And the switch up, again, panning out. I think Nectar as well does an excellent job controlling these sort of high ground angles, off angles, whatever you want to call them, with the Luna Snowflake. Oh my goodness, again. Okay, goodbye, Tones. See you later. HP gone if everybody hits a headshot on you. Brutal situation. I guess Black Cat maybe could avoid that damage next patch, right? But okay, Regis can't, even without his passive. Back to the spawn, slow walk, and that's so many staggers for LuneX now, looking like the first map.
Is a little, I mean, probably well-known fact, but a fact maybe if you didn't know, when you slow walk, you reduce movement sound to the point where they cannot hear you. So a lot of teams will do that when they're trying to find a cheeky play with something like the Glartrox here. Iffy with the Meteor M available. Nectar is trying to make that play happen, and there's that ultimate. We're talking about a two-piece and a Dream walking backwards yard. Goodbye, Tones, too. A huge ult here, and SSG is clutching up right now, becoming the team they needed to be on point 3, a very defensible side of the map. And a lot was committed. There's going to be an answer with the Kamiho Unleashed from Month, but Tico and Iffy do have another really strong combo that we've seen a lot in the past.
Yeah, LuneX is starting to look a little scared. You know, I mean, they switched Silent Blaze over to the Gambit now for the first time in the series. Logan going to stay on that Luna Snow. And for SSG, they're stringing together these fights. I mean, maybe you can go crazy with Iffy, Meteor MT, the Groot ultimate, but, I mean, Necrise sitting on the defense, it should be easier for this mag, right?
Strangling Prison available. Trying to find something else. The Meteor M goes up with the End Song, and that's that combo. They pay for it, too. It is so difficult to hold on through a combo like that, and I do think SSG made the right call. Do not commit anything. When they use Meteor... Oh, they actually didn't even Meteor M, excuse me. I thought I heard it in that moment, but I guess not. End Song was enough, so even better by LuneX to really not overcommit there, as Logan does have the dance floor. Iffy with the Meteor M, and it could be something we see here, but Month, Blur, Necrise, and Doomed all available for queues. It's all about value now. Who makes it happen? Tones with a huge dive, forcing out the dance floor early, getting to point. Strangling Prison goes out. Meteor M as well gets launched. And that is going to be massive here for SSG, and it's going to be very difficult for the retouch to come through. Tico switching immediately to the Strange, but OT ticks down. I'm not sure it can get here, folks. The touch needs to happen now, but it does not, and that is going to be a win from SSG that keep the series moving forward.
Yeah, keeps the series moving forward, keeps the reverse sweep hope alive as they win the map at the very least. And you know, they strung together a few fights for LuneX. They got counter-comped immediately as the Ultron stuff wasn't working second phase, and then got snowballed a little bit towards the end. They swapped off it during the pause. Maybe that gave him a breather to come back into it. And obviously, Nectar and MVP, yet again, the streak of these Elsa players just getting the character they want through has just been undeniable. It kind of...
Dude.
I mean, like, was the Gambit really worth playing if you're just going to get dominated by Nectar like that? 24 final hits?
I mean, that is just obscene. 24 finals, 44k damage. I'm not like, look at everybody across the board. Almost double the opposition, right? Like, that is insanity. That is domination. And I do not think we are going to see Elsa available ever again for SSG in this matchup.
No, I mean, they were doing it too. They were banning the Elsa first for LuneX. You know, maybe you assume on Convoy. No, but like it's good on Convoy and stuff. Maybe they're more scared of the Gambit on this map, and that's the tough part is you have so many decisions you have to make. Like we talked about decision fatigue, but what we're not fatigued of is this series, and SSG are not out of it yet. We'll see if they can come back or if LuneX can close out after this break.
Welcome back, everyone. Zoe here, joined by Dogman, and I run ship, and let's break down how SSG pulled this one back. We definitely saw some changes being made compositionally for them as well, and they came quick at the very end there as well. So I think the adaptations from SSG are really starting to come through. I like the game plan that I had heading into this map.
I mean, they figured it out, right? I think towards the third phase and every map they were making adjustments. That's what we want to see out of these top teams right now, right? Is not to be stagnant, correct?
Yeah, 100% agreed. I mean, honestly, right there, I think, you know, we saw a lot of clean play from Nectar. The whole team definitely locked in more so. Necrise looked great, even on the Magneto at the end there. Saw a little more traditional stuff, but we are going back to Dom, right? And I think LuneX looked really good on Dom. I think their versatility and composition maybe has been a little more versatile and more successful in that versatility. So I'm looking forward to seeing if the bounce back from SSG is enough.
Yeah, man. I mean, right, when something like this happens, like what we just witnessed from Nectar, it's very easy to just like immediately panic and go like, okay, Elsa needs to go. Like, we need to have you focus on that. Like, that can't get through. Is that what do you think is happening in the LuneX camp right now?
Probably, yeah. I mean, the first maps, obviously, they did that. They strategized around it, and it panned out to ban it first. So, yeah, obviously, you want to kind of go back, especially on the next map, which will be Idrisil. So, this team, well, I mean, it's different, at least because of the fact that these maps are so long range. Also, the reset. So, that's actually a good time to bring it up, too, is because after the first 3 maps that happen, any map is pickable again. It resets back to anything that you've not played yet on top of any map type. So it's a little bit different because of the best of 5 that's changed in the playoffs. But it just another good map, I think, for this Elsa comp that, you know, hopefully, like you said, Zoe, is not going to be picked, not going to be not banned by both teams. The double negative doesn't really work, but yeah.
Like, it kind of lost me halfway there. I do love seeing LuneX back on domination. I think they've just been looking really strong, and especially I feel like they match up so well against SSG in this particular map type where things can get a little chaotic, and I feel like LuneX is having an easier time in the chaos.
Yeah, honestly, I was wrong. Yeah, I guess it's going to Idrisil. So it is going to be another one of those convoy maps, which I am surprised about because I do think they look so good on Dom. Yeah, no, I was wrong. My bad for leading you astray. But
just rubbing it in on it. My
on me. Hey,
bury him in the ground. Get the shovels. Get the shovels.
Right with the car. Yeah.
God, Chip, why are you
I think we do
so
get a preview
wrong,
though, but it's so pixelated I literally can't read it. And my eyesight is I'm elderly, so like I can't read anything on my screen, to be honest.
Same.
Everything is a blur.
Yeah, I thought that was like the old map. That was the domination that left us like Shin Shibuya before, you know,
that
when we had those maps.
Yeah, I mean, our band is not only old and short. We're short and old, right? So we have the double whammy there, so we can read it. But yeah, no, I saw something funny in the comments during the break there that cracked me up. Is the only thing that Nectar's bad at is missing shots, and I was like, you know what? I do want to see if that still comes true here on Yggdrasil, because I think that, you know, we saw a lot of success from Nectar on the Elsa, but we didn't really get to see a lot of success with the Psylocke. They did a great job marking Nectar in that moment, so maybe we see more Phoenix play, more hit scan play. I think Yggdrasil is a decent Wolverine map too. There's a lot of potential here, and I personally, my favorite map out of all of them, little OG callback there, because this map's been around forever, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they elect to run. This is also one of those maps you can run these weird triple hold comps on.
Ooh, what do you want to see, Dogman?
I mean, I just want to see like the adaptations like we saw before. Like that I want to see those movements, those changes. I think that ship's kind of right on the triple, but I don't know. Like the current patch and the current meta has been sort of changing like in a bunch of different ways, and it's allowing a lot more diversity this week. So I think we just need to see those adaptations. I think LuneX is a little bit quicker. That last map, obviously, SSG still won. But towards the end, it's just that goes back to the ban phase. Like, I feel like when we talked about Elsa being so dominant, that's the only character that I really would just like not want to play against. And I think it's totally fair, especially against the good Elsas. It just feels like the ban phase, you can't really make too many mistakes besides letting Elsa through. The Gambit, I can kind of live with a little bit, but not that character.
Well, we'll find out what the teams have in store for us on this next map very soon. I find it interesting that you said that the ban phase is like open and like there's a lot of different possibilities. When we talked yesterday to Liquid Citadel after their victory, and they kind of just answered with a, you know, like everyone bans the same thing, and therefore we only need to play like a small handful of comps. And we don't really need to stretch ourselves. So, like, I guess it's different for each of those teams. Now, the bans are ready, and so are we. It is still match point for LuneX, which are playing on their map pick of Yggdrasil on Convoy. Guys, please take it away.
All right, the double Elsa off the rip, buddy. If I put money on it, I guarantee you I would have said that would be the case. As we see the lock-in of Invis, this is something that's been way more prevalent over just this ending here of the preseason. You know, just such a strong hero. It's had some success and it hasn't worked out a few times, so it's definitely still up for debate. But the lockout, goodbye to Gambit after that, and the lock-in of Gambit, I think is a smart play. But again, what do I know? It worked last time when the opposition didn't have it.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, we'll kind of figure out as the time goes on if the Gambit really is that good, because I know that there was a lot of heavy reactions after the 20% ult change nerf that happened. You know, characters like, well, Loki and Invis were prioritized as well after that. We have the Wolverine ban because we want to play the Groot on the opposite of SSG. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the Gambit stuff, I mean, kind of maybe like going back to, remember WAV? You know, back in the day, obviously used to play for Reason Gaming. I think got kicked last second after the tournament started. But WAV, I think, was like, yeah, Gambit's like dead now. Like, Gambit's not as good anymore. But, you know, teams obviously disagreed with that kind of overall. But it does seem like, at least for Elsa, it's been a perma pick. And for Gambit, maybe not as much, because we've seen teams also prioritize that Mantis Protect that comes out.
Yeah, I mean, Mantis just enables so many different compositions, and I think it's tough because it depends on what you're willing to run. I feel like we haven't seen nearly as much of that, you know, more dive-focused stuff that plays well with the Mantis, while you have like a single duelist, triple backline, enabling something like an Ultron. Haven't seen as much success with that from SSG. They found more success when they switched off that comp at the end there, but that being said, I do think it's still very much a threat, and it is going to be locked in as well by LuneX.
All right, so some potential Mantis or not, but I mean, like for LuneX's side, you know, obviously haven't had as much success off of it, had to swap over off of the Mantis into a 2-2-2 style, but now with this front to back angle, like maybe you have to think about that as well as the Ultron, but they're gonna go for the Loki ban at the very end, and that leaves both the Ultron open, maybe some Adam Warlock shib. Like, obviously you still have the Gambit and stuff, but you still run triple on the opposite for LuneX who get the Mantis in.
Yeah, we haven't seen as much success with Warlock, right? Like, especially in the Americas region. It's been run a few times. Teams have tried, but it's kind of gone to the wayside since it hasn't really worked. There's going to be a little bit of a buff coming in, obviously, with the new season, but that's not in play right now. Just a reiteration for those who maybe missed that. They are playing on the 7-hour patch right now. But here we go, folks, heading in. We're going to see if teams want to run something a little more of stall heavy, but it looks like on the defensive side, that will not be the case, and they're going to run that triple backline instead of the triple Vanguard frontline.
Yeah, I mean, dude, like, Ultron getting buffed is insane, man. Like, I feel like he's already been so meta, you know? Like, why the hell are they buffing him? I'm sorry, that's just crazy. Like, dude, I've seen, like, the Reddit page, like, the Ultrons are like, oh my god, he's so bad. But it's like, yeah, he's bad with the... I think I've ranted about this before. I feel like I'm actually old man yelling at the clouds right now, so I should cut myself off early. But regardless, Ultron definitely good in triple strategist compositions.
Yeah, and it's also, right, you got to think like top-level play, right? I think Ultron really requires a team to understand natural cover well, understand the correct heroes to be using, and just competence in that triple backline. But Ultron with Mantis,
I'm going to use you as natural cover, you know, coming for these Ultron mans coming after me after this.
Become a bullet sponge. Listen, I don't necessarily want to have that be the case. That is true. That is true, buddy. As we start off here, right now, off the rip, you see the high side positioning from Nectar is going to be on that Phoenix, actually, like we kind of discussed there in the downtime. I think that's a pretty good call because I knew there's no shot that Elsa would be back on the table after a performance like that. Nectar was some good natural. Notice the natural cover, like we're talking about right there, playing on that left wall.
I'm just surprised neither team decided to go for the Ultron ban because I feel like this was going to be an obvious outcome.
Yeah, you know, and that's kind of the difference between maybe some of the teams at the very, very top that notice that is a problem, and then the teams that are working their way on the lower side of the bracket right now. It's also comfort, right? If you scrim against a team and they really haven't shown that they provide it well, like that's all just information that you can use to your advantage. But it's stuff that we really won't really know unless you are that statistician on the team. So there is the engagement. I'll say there's a lot of space being owned here already off the rip as no one's gone down. Really good attack by LuneX.
Yeah, we've seen on this map, okay, immediately Nectar finds the pick on the off angle. Dude, Nectar is one of the better players at, being gross, first of all, in terms of aim, but obviously controlling off angles. Like, it's just amazing. Maybe Nectar, Delena, these two players have a great understanding about controlling off angles. You know, I think I was watching Light watch back some of the top players in this game. SSG were playing. Nectar was really controlling off angles on Psylocke. Phoenix, where he mentioned, I think, Sparker's gameplay, for example, who was a lot more front-to-back style. So you can see the difference in opinion in terms of play style, enabling Nectar in that first fight, who took the off angle and Redis didn't.
Yeah, look at ults here, though. Virtually everyone going to have ult available. Tones launched ult there. Did not seem to work out. I must have at this point because I already had 44%, unless the switch came through. I have to double check on that. But Silent Blaze not having ult yet. Out goes the boundary. Redis able to find one off the rip onto Fidel's going to put the offense in a good spot at the side of LuneX. Meteor M is up too. Does that one land? It does. Necrise out of the sky, I believe, onto Tico. That's dirty right there. Ensong Inferno lands, pulls a lot of those cooldowns and walls away, but doesn't get much else. And even being down early on, SSG retakes the space. Blur, though, finds one onto Iffy. Great drop back attack there. Blur on the defense, is able to collapse in and find the stagger. And that is kind of what they're looking for now. SSG will have Strangling Prison available, which can cut through Silent Blaze with that resurgence.
When you talked about him, Necride so far on Magneto last map and this map has looked great. So enjoying this so far for SSG, and like you said, ult's available.
Yeah, I do think another very strong hero on the sticks is going to be Magneto. Play a little slower and just kind of plays into the advantage of having a controller in terms of movement. But here goes the next engagement. Out is everything. It's all a neutral fight here, folks. There is no more answers as the Strangling Prison and the Resurgence both get committed. Nectar, what do you know, in the neutral, able to find one. Keep the pressure on, make it two now. Nectar, come on. Still walking as all the cooldowns go down. Great wall there to buy even more time and space. Wow, there was a good stun option there, but an incredible Invisible Woman wall to push that away.
I don't know if Nectar just had lucky POV timings or what. Like, it's just crazy.
Shout out Observer.
Yeah, for sure. And Nectar, obviously, well-known now by everybody watching for how gross they are in terms of aim. But LuneX switch it up. They now go Tones over to the Venom. Obviously, not enjoying just walking straight into the Phoenix shots. Wants to be a bit more proactive. But speaking of proactive, here comes Doomed with the Ultron's Rage, met by Invisible Boundary.
After going low, hitting the skies, going to come back with full HP. Just kind of provide a little bit of pressure. Spawn exactly where they initiated. You'll see a little Phoenix there for those who maybe don't understand that. That's exactly where the spawn's going to be. You can try to play around that in the future. Maybe nice tackle and nice play by Blur there onto Iffy, and they're walking again, dude. This defense from SSG, this whole team is locked back in.
Yeah, they look locked in, and then LuneX just look lost right now, man. Like, okay, 5 seconds, 4 seconds. By the way, they're about to lose. They need to touch. Somebody goes in. It's Tones. And he ultimates afterwards. I mean, they're going to have Ensong Inferno coming back from spawn. But you still have to delay for these straddles. Maybe Silent Blaze is now onto the Jeff, like we've seen earlier. Redis takes down Nectar, though. Okay, you find one. But here comes Blur. Win aggressive. Maybe too aggressive, but it's the Gambit ult. Everybody's still here. Phoenix Soul comes through, but the support is too strong on the defense. Strangling Prison holds everybody inside a tight angle together, and Redis falls.
Yeah, and you can actually use that Ensong Inferno from Phoenix to touch point to try to stall, but it's not going to matter. Wow. What a defensive hold from SSG, who woke up after these first two maps and do not want to go home just yet, folks. On the offense they go, and this is what we're looking for from game one, buddy.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun match if it goes to yet another map. Also, wait, hold on. So LuneX picked this map, by the way.
Yeah.
Correct. So that is also kind of weird because LuneX also lost to we lost on this map before. I mean, I understand it's like they like this map. They've picked it before, but man, it's just not. They look lost. Like, they look straight up lost. Like, their tanks were walking in shit, like, and just dying. Like, they just, like, would walk straight into Nectar's crosshairs, AFK in the brainer almost. Like, it's a team effort, obviously, and you can see it, that the team doesn't know what they're doing.
Dude, I think a lot of it, and, you know, not to keep, because the entirety of SSG is looking strong. We mentioned Necrise, obviously, and Nectar, but I would say the positioning there from Nectar on that off angle, just constantly pressuring the right targets, right? Notice how rarely was Nectar shooting a Vanguard in the front. It was always a pick on a strategist or duelist early on. So really, really strong play there. It forced them to constantly be looking in an off angle, allowing the front line to move forward. The defensive side just looked practiced from SSG, and LuneX just wasn't expecting it, but they've got to do the same thing here on defense. And you can see the comp coming in, looking pretty traditional for the side of LuneX.
When you can see the swap was a bit slow. I mean, you can see like the Mantis comps specifically, LuneX just haven't been so good at. Like they're better at this style now that they're playing on defense, which is this Jeff alongside something else. It's just specifically with the Mantis as we go into a pause that they're not good at. Like we saw in Domination, they had to switch off of it as well. They tried to play it on their tank with the Ultron stuff, but honestly, in terms of the Ultron mirror, Space Station Gaming look a lot better. So we'll have to see how LuneX adapt, because at the current moment, I mean, they just can't. They can't fight this Mantis mirror. It's just not going to work with the Ultron in the sky on SSG side.
Yeah, it's tough because I do think that the entirety of LuneX plays well into these more divey, hyper speed comps that move in quickly. But I think the positioning and idea and the entire comp was countering that, and they didn't know what to do. Like you're saying, they kind of panicked. We saw heavy swaps at the end, and I think it was just too little too late. I like the cap idea to maybe mark Nectar. You wanted to get on that off angle and just pull some of the damage away from your backline. But it just came out just at the very last 30 seconds, and it forced ultimates out to touch point. It was a tough look, but yeah, SSG, dude, they woke up. They're looking incredibly strong right now, and I think they played that map to perfection, at least so far. But there is an attack to happen.
And I think as well, this kind of all goes back to Central Park, where you know, for SSG, I think they didn't adapt in the second phase, I believe, as well, when I think they had a similar comp available. I'm trying to remember if they had the Mantis ban or not, but you know, regardless, Doom switched over to the Star-Lord and stuff, and they tried to play like a traditional 2-2-2 style. It just wasn't working for them, though, you know, kind of in a similar boat to, I think, like is it Na'Vi, I believe, that just play like nothing, or Heretics that play nothing but Mantis triple compositions. So right now for SSG, they look pretty good in these triple comps, and you know, if they just switch Doom over off of the Star-Lord onto maybe another strategist off the Ultron, because he's looked good on that so far. So it's kind of the onus is on LuneX to make these adaptations to like the Jeff stuff sooner, because we could be going to a potential map number 5.
Yeah, and I just looked. Yeah, the Mantis was not banned on the go-around of Midtown, so you're definitely right there. Yeah, man, I'm not sure what the answer is. I think it's also, you know, I brought it up, and, you know, I brought it up early on. I just think that when they have these in the bag, for some reason, LuneX just seems to let it slip through their fingers, and it's not over yet. And they can absolutely win this series, and I know that they have the talent to do so, but they need to break that mold that they've been in of being up heavy, whether it's in a map or a series, and then just looking like a totally different team.
Oh yeah, absolutely, they do. And you know, obviously, by the way, the pause just came out. I believe the pause was on Necryze's side, on SGC's side. You know, they're still taking their time, obviously figuring it out. You know, but you would assume, I imagine the viewers are like, guys, you know, we only got 71 meters. And by the way, we're getting back into it. You know, it's like talking about somebody who's balding. You know, just like, let it go, bro. You know, shave it off. You're gonna lose this map.
Yeah. Do something about it. You know what I mean? No, here we go. Off the rip on the attack. You can see no real change here for SSG. They don't need to. And then LuneX going back to a comp that they have found success with, like you're saying, with that Jeff. But the games begin as the point has already pushed to the first turn. This is typically where you'll see teams portal in on a full hold composition with the Vanguard front line. But it just nowadays, these teams are getting around this first bend with no real issue. And there is a great position. Notice how Necryze is playing off to the left here, forcing eyes in a different direction, using some of these cooldowns to get back to the team. That's the kind of stuff you want to see from a top-level Vanguard.
Absolutely. Minute off the clock, Ultimate's built month. Look how fast he built it. But they will be against Logan with the Invisible Boundary. Also, Groodle soon. Can they live long enough for the Groodle to come out?
Yeah, out goes that very quick boundary. Strangling Prison coming in, and though, will that work out? And no, and that is Silent Blaze, Tico, and Redis finding a three-piece there. Still 3 minutes left, plenty of time. Commitment goes out from LuneX with Tones and Logan. Month, obviously, ulting in that fight. So that is, you know, the idea is, oh, that's a win because you don't have the Gambit, but either way, it's still a 2-for-1.
Well, they played slow. They got the Groodle fast from Tones. That was the big reason they won it. You know, otherwise, I think maybe SSG closed out on them. Regardless, like you said, Shib, Ultimate's available for them. This time, it's Blur's time to shine.
Yeah, and there is a ton of Qs available. Silent Blaze, with that It's Jeff, is potentially the only answer to a lot of this stuff that's about to happen as Doom starts off right now. Great eat there from the Magneto of Iffy to find Nectar in the backline, and great transition, eating a lot of that damage and finding value. There is a Strangling Prison that goes out. Meteor M there, bang, Doom find one, Blur another, and that's 2, and an Endsong Inferno forced out from Tico without much value. Up for the attacking side of SSG, Doomed with one more, and like you're saying, looking strong on that Ultron right now. Oh, that's huge.
But he has to stay cart, though. They have to stay cart because there's nobody else coming in. Oh, Ensong Inferno. Anybody else here to touch with the strength portal? No, it's done. Next map, SSG have won, tying it up. 2-2 ship.
And folks, we have ourselves a game 5 here. The bounce back from SSG being massive once more massive than a low tape or fade meme, folks, as we are going to see another full series here. And their backs are against the wall. Losing team goes home. It's all about this next match.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what the map is, right? That's kind of the big thing. There's so many decisions we have to make. Obviously, the last 5 maps played cannot be picked. We can't go into Convoy. We have to think about a Convergence or Domination. I believe it's kind of spoilers, so we won't talk about it. We'll see what it is later. But obviously, the Ultron stuff, maybe we want to get rid of it. Maybe we want to go to a map Ultron is not as good. We have to think about that later as the reverse sweep is on the line, and LuneX might be a little nervous. I'll see you after this short break.
Like that triple strat in SSG's hands. I think that did a lot for them.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a comp that obviously they're very good at, and we'll see if it keeps moving. I think a lot of these teams identify it definitely as like being really good strat comp players. Like we've seen that in EMEA as well, focusing on a lot of these Mantis comps. I want to see maybe LuneX ban one of these characters out early, and maybe don't even play the Gambit comp even, because like I like what Silent Blaze was doing on Jeff sometimes and those sort of styles. Obviously going over to Domination, it flips a lot of things on its head. Maybe they'll be able to shut down the side of Spacestation Gaming a little bit better considering they did map number 1, but I still think everything's up in the air like you said, Zoe. Everything is undecided on this next map.
Yeah, I think, like you're saying, the Jeff's super strong here. The Invis, they're very comfortable on that with Silent and Logan. There's a lot of off-map potential. You know, we even saw, you know, in the other side, when you're looking at Necra, is not afraid to pull out the Angela. I would argue that that's probably the map to pull out Angela. She still excels there, can bully frontline, force your frontline into running things that maybe aren't as advantageous for your composition. You've seen a lot of strange portal plays here. There is a lot of unique stuff that can come into play, and I think LuneX needs something like that right now to happen for them, because they are just on their heels. It's just that simple. They're a team that cannot seem to clutch these wins when they have them in their like grasps of victory. They're so close, it just crumbles. So I need, you know, to see some change. Yeah.
It is so frustrating because they're this good, right? Like they're up in a series 2-0, and then it starts to crumble for them. Like, why can't they close it out? Be that in a map within a map, be that in an entire series, like they really have to lock in. That said, though, as much as it may be them just kind of like falling apart, I do think SSG cleaned up their act. I think they were a lot more decisive, which they kind of lacked before, right? That goes back to like, is their target focus on point? Like, no, it wasn't, because they weren't on the same page. They weren't on the same page about going in aggressively. They looked like they got their act together here on that last map.
Absolutely, and it kind of goes down to that's what they play around best, like is the Nectar comps, and it makes it a little bit easier. The puzzles kind of fall into place. Like sometimes not even the players know why they get good out of nowhere. Like it just, you know, happens. It happens sometimes, right? Your team is better at certain styles. They synergize around it. Some players have better mentalities for certain comps. You can see they love to play around Nectar. That's the team's sort of identity. And when we have to put him onto like a Psylocke and he wants to go ham and aggressive, kind of like Tap, who is not on any of the teams so far in this tournament. But these are very hyper-aggressive players sometimes. You could see even in the KO feed how many times Nectar was going down. Now that they have that strategy, that support, now that they have the help, they're going to get a lot more done.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think, and I also think that as a whole, when you're looking at this team, I think that Space Station does a good job with more traditional comps, stuff that worked more in the last meta, at least for the Vanguard front. They're not really running these super aggressive front lines that are aggroing. They play better when they can sit back and, like you're saying, enable the duelists, enable Nectar to find value, and they're just playing off that.
Yeah, I want to see both teams going back into a flow state, not overthinking it, playing to their strength in order to close it out 2-2 the series. This is an elimination match, and only one team will continue their run in the lower bracket.
Last time, bud, we went to map 3, 99% virtually on both sides, and every single go of it. It is going to be intense, and folks, losing team goes home out of the playoffs here for the preseason. Nobody wants that. It is intense, and I'm sure the nerves are high. You go from butterflies into bees in the stomach, and you can see the bands go, ooh, they are going to allow the one-sided Elsa matchup here.
Hey, maybe this is the time it works. I don't know. I mean, they're going to try to counter a lot of the heroes that can support it, maybe the Mantis and stuff. You know, in SSG, like, what do they want to go at first? Like, do you want to protect the Elsa? I mean, obviously you do, surely, right? So that's going to happen. Then LuneX obviously have the choices behind them. Like, do they want to go for those Loki bans? Do they want to go for the Mantis bans and stuff? Because, I mean, we've seen squads like SSG do well with those compositions. So, you know, with LuneX, they have decisions to make, obviously. I think the Mantis, that's a smart one. They've done well with the Mantis comp so far. At least you remove that. But it is still, like, yeah, you said, Nectar on the Elsa is always a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, but this is where things get tricky, right? And I said I do think LuneX can run these more unique compositions that throw a team for a loop. Yesterday, you like to call it the cheese dog, and I do agree. I think cheese comps can absolutely work, especially in domination. They throw your team for a loop, you get the point early, you stall for as long as possible. It's a 99% situation. You lose one fight, you come back and you win the map. And that's the kind of stuff that can absolutely work. And I think LuneX does that well, but the question is, can they do it well while Nectar is peppering them with the strongest, arguably the strongest hero in this meta?
Yeah, that's going to be a decision that LuneX have to make. And you can see, obviously, focusing more towards strategists, trying to get that one-sided invis. I don't know if I whoa. They didn't go for protect. They can go for anything they want now on LuneX's side.
And whoever's controlling the bands doomed is fired. No, that's either an ego play, an accidental play, DC. Who knows what has happened? But goodbye to the DD there. And the lock-in of Strange is going to be the case in case they elect to remove Strange, so you don't have that portal back.
Yeah, and they get the invis team up. I mean, also, like, I guess maybe you're like, you can hide some stuff by not going for the protect there. You know, you don't make it obvious what you want to do, what your game plan is after the Elsa and who wants to protect you. It is interesting, though, because, like, I mean, the Jeff stuff is still available alongside Venom, so maybe I was thinking, like you said earlier, that last man Venom could have maybe been good for SSG. Wait, is Doomed AFK? Okay, no, he got Jeff at the very end. Okay, interesting. And that's actually a good switch up, though, because of what Silent has been doing.
Dude, I love that. I think that's a great play. I think Jeff gets a ton of value here. And Silent, although, early on on map 1 on Dom, we said, struggled a little bit. That's just due to the comp that they were going against, right? But, it looked dominant. It looked really good towards the end, and especially on future maps. So great ban there, in my opinion, for your final ban. I think Strange is another one of those unique ones that could have worked. And you can see if he floating that Strange off rip, and Necry's doing the same. We might see either an early point position, the idea of a kidnap, but I do think it's just going to be all about getting to that point quick.
So I'm a little nervous if I think if I'm a LuneX fan. We'll see moving forward because, obviously you get that Mantis ban on the opposite side, but we've seen so far the squad for LuneX just haven't been able to make Mantis work and made the Jeff and stuff work. So we'll see how this pans out for them. For Spacestation Gaming, I kind of like the ban phase, except, obviously getting the one-sided. I mean, Elsa is like always going to be a huge benefit. So for LuneX, I think their backs are against the wall ship. It's as you and Zoe mentioned, they just always seem to just lose when they are this close to winning. We'll see if they can finally break that curse, but it's an uphill battle after letting the Elsa through.
Yeah, and we will begin here, folks. You can see Doomed on that Wolverine. It's another one of those maps that you can see a lot of off-map plays, especially right now. Necry's likely getting them to point quickly on the Strange. Another one of those heroes that plays well on controller, owning that height now. Everybody going to jump out, and again, it's just about getting here. The counter portal from Iffy is going to be behind, and that might be a funky little spot there because they can play around their own wall, or their own shield, teleport as a wall, and I think the portal play comes out on top for the side of SSG in that, but again, maybe didn't catch it in that moment.
Good read at least to start on the Wolverine as well for that Groot. A lot of cooldowns used early. By the way, damage coming through from Doomed, who has that snowflake on him. So he can just play as aggressive as you want. Look for those hooks. Look for those plays around the corner. If he falls so low, but does fall back. Ult's coming up soon now, I think, for LuneX. As at the moment, though, SSG trying to keep Doom alive. Then, oh no, he goes down.
Logan, once again, with some strong damage and a great wall to isolate. And again, that isolation didn't allow the Stratch to look forward, and they find value off it as now LuneX are looking up in numbers, trying to get this point, and it will go their way, slowly but surely, as the drop-off goes now. Ooh, Gartrox gets committed, though, as Nectar falls. Rita's able to find one, and maybe this banning phase was the way they wanted. They anticipated Nectar on that pick, and it didn't matter. as they will get point 10% and climbing for the side of LuneX.
Yeah, I like it so far because they have Ritas on that Phoenix compared to was it Tico on the Phoenix on the previous map, and then the Mantis, was it either Silence Blaze or something? But regardless, it's nice to see Ritas back on the Phoenix with the hard pocket at the very least. And for Doomed, a little bit too aggressive. Fidel no going to the Cloak and Dagger, as they know they want to play this sort of front to back style. But early setup now from SSG on the top left. Early to go for LuneX.
And there is that boundary off rip, right? As you see, Silent Blaze, allowing them to just try to hold on for a moment. Commitment on point, about halfway there right now. Tico, great positioning here, owning the height, especially when you have something like Logan on this Loki. You can deal so much damage when you've 3 stacked up with clones, which apply so much healing and pressure at the same time. The commitment comes through. There is that end song, bang on a tight ceiling, but wow, that was a dirty fade there from Cloak to keep everyone healthy. Perfect timing.
Yeah, excellent timing for sure, and they want to now walk back in once they get cooldowns. Coffee comes out on the attack. Month goes first, but afterwards, they're going to pull them after. Ayabagamoto comes through. Was anybody there even to follow up? So interesting eye as it doesn't catch Month.
Month trying to break walls behind. Notice that is always the priority. You don't want Groot to get too much value. Fidel going to copy up, get onto point, and SSG's just trying to stall now. 64% here for LuneX. Silent Blaze finds one, though.
And Silent Blaze finds Doomed. He actually went in with the Wolf ult, too, so that's that ultimate gone on top of going down, but at least Spacestation Gaming are control of the point. They forced them off for now. Regardless, still losing Blur. SSG are forced back once more. Shiv temporarily controlled the point, but it doesn't end up mattering. Large Truck's late again from Nectar. It's deleted yet again.
You can see here, teams are fighting, heading towards spawn as much as possible, but LuneX really has control over point at the moment, looking very strong, secure. They're just going to allow it to tick through while they own this space. Really good play right now. On a composition I'd love to see. You can see the force swap here from Spacestation trying to match us a little bit, a little more consistently, but the Mantis value, Mantis stonks are growing here as Ritas with some good positioning deals a ton of damage. And once again, wants to head in there with the Ensong Inferno in a brief moment.
Here's the Ivok as well. He goes down. Doom falls again. That's the, was it third, fourth time in a row? Doom's been target focused before the fight even begins. Cloak ult, 2 lace now, Shib. And, I mean, they're going to have to keep stalling, but how much longer can they stall out at this point without a member of their squad?
Tricky right now. Doom going to get back quickly, but would have been a little faster was the Strange portal, but was very close to ult. Didn't want to commit that. Out goes the Resurgence. Wow, Tico able to find Blur. LuneX are stepping up right now, folks, as another pick comes in from Ritas. A third now as a team, as Ritas finds 2. The stun does not seem to land, and this should be it. It is. Wow, LuneX are going to find that map decidedly, and they want to reverse this situation of them consistently losing these uphill battles.
I mean, good fights from LuneX there, too, and I think the Daredevil ban kind of coming into fruition, I think, for the side of LuneX at the very end, just through the fact that, I mean, that was supposed to be a good map, a good round for Doom on the Wolverine, but, like, he was so focused on LuneX's side. Excellent target focus from them, looking a lot better throughout that map, so for Spacestation Gaming, I mean, like, we need to see it maybe slow it down a little bit. Maybe Fidel also gets that Cloak ult and go aggressive with it over LuneX, who have just that Mantis. But regardless as well, I mean, you have to deal with that team up with Doctor Strange that we always talked about at the tournament, Shib. Like, they have the full team up with the Mantis alongside it now.
Yeah, and if he's looking really clean, saw some big ultimates there too. But you know what, buddy? The question that is going to be in SSG's ears, if they do lose this, is were they going to save the Daredevil? You know, that's going to be ringing in their minds, I'm sure, overnight, because that lack of not having that lock that they just slept on, unfortunately, could be the deciding factor of them losing this and force Doomed onto things like now going to be playing the Moon Knight, which we really haven't seen as much success with in this meta at all. It seems a little bit scrambly to me.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that, like, I just can't believe they also let the Mantis, in hindsight now, the Mantis Invis in Doctor Strange, just because we saw that so good in the past, and also teams at least ban one part of it. But obviously with how LuneX looked on the Mantis earlier, it didn't end up mattering. Okay, Doomed, sure, just take out 2 on Moon Knight of all things.
Psych, I lied. It looks really good. What am I saying? Goodbye. Well done there, Doomed. Finding them in that corner and is finding a vengeance with a 3-piece now, as Fidel is able to find 1 pick there for the 4th. And they have pushed them now to their spawn with ult advantage and the combination of Blur Doomed. And the beauty of this is the idea is you want to counter that Mantis, because Mantis using that Soul Resurgence is still very susceptible to the Groot Knight combination. Cannot escape the Strangling Prison, much like Luna or Cloak can.
Walking up at the moment. You know, and they had a solid advantage, I think, in that fight. We'll see what Regis wants to do now, who is on that Wolverine. But Iffy again, I mean, sure, we're going to look for this Agamotto in the middle of the fight. Also block this Groot. Right now, he's had to deal with this Wolverine on the backside. Here comes that Mantis on the backside. Groot in the back. Here comes that Moon Knight combination that you talked about. Overhealth is there, but it's not enough to save Tico. Iffy also falls. Follow-up is there. Reset once more for LuneX.
This is exactly like we predicted, buddy. They went the Groot Knight as soon as they heard the Soul Resurgence. Pop that Strangling Prison, goodbye to everybody. You just can't do much about it. If it lands on that Mantis, she theoretically is gone, unless you have like a Magneto bubble and a bunch of protection and a ton of focus by the backline, but really difficult to go through Moon Knight, as well as just raw outputs of just damage from the auto attacks across the board. So great play there once again by SSG, who are not giving up yet, folks. There's the reverse Strangling Prison. That one's going to find Nectar, who does go down. Rita's going to clean that up quickly. Month copies up here. We'll have the stall potential as Rita finds a two-piece. And there is going to be that walk down with the Eternal Bond.
Yeah, are they going to wait it out, though? Because this allows Portal to come through. I would have figured Regis maybe tries to go aggressive for a play to pull him out of the cloak ult, but he doesn't. Allows them time to come back. So the Moon Knight versus Moon Knight combination, not available, though, because Groots are down. But regardless, Straddles are going to come out on both sides. Again, Regis gets the pull, so slow play ended up working for LuneX. As Spacestation Gaming, their game plan the whole time was the reset.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good kite, right? But that's kind of the idea. The reason that ult was committed is to buy you 13 seconds on point. Now you're at 91%, and if you're looking for SSG to win this, you essentially just want to build a ton of ults and win one singular fight. But LuneX did a great job not overcommitting there either, as they're going to have almost 4 ults available. They will have 4 ults available, but they don't have the combination with Tones just yet. So it's all about if that is going to be the issue. Will Doom get more value, or will Tico? Tico starts it now. Does not seem to get a pick just yet. Drives a lot of cooldowns out of the, out of the wayward side there, but they start up now with the walk down. Sonic Seduction doesn't seem to get much value, and everybody's a little nervous right now. You can see it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not playing normally for sure. Like, both teams definitely feeling it. 40%, they go aggressive with Invisible Boundary. Doomed has the ult, obviously, but they full disengage again from SSG. Playing safe, but could it be too safe, Shib, as LuneX, if they get, to 90%, I'd be a little nervous, especially since they're already on round point.
They're going to walk in with Fidel here, I believe is going to be the case. They're going to try to get this Groot Knight combination, and that could be the game winner. That's the entirety of what they're thinking right now. Fidel does have ult, and they're going to have to walk forward. They will have an answer with Silent Blaze, but that doesn't matter much if that Moon Knight ults in. Invis also will struggle with that, and there's that combination I'm talking about. Matched right back by the boundary. Will they get the Strangling Prison? It finds, no, it finds 2, but a huge eye comes through. Doomed, able to find 1, traded from Tico. Both sides evened out, playing safe again. Both teams nervous. Glordrox hits the wall. No, it was not able to work. Nectar tried, and an answer from Tico on a neck rise. Wow, this is just textbook from LuneX, who will come out of this on top.
Are you kidding me, LuneX? How are they coming back into this? They're also having Regis come back with the ult in the moment. Goes through the flank, could make the play of a lifetime to end it. To recap, or rather to keep control of the point after the portal potentially was used earlier. Here comes Necrise, who's on Angela's comfort pick at this rate. Gets grabbed out of the sky, but Nectar! Oh my god! They've woken up again, but Necrise trades back Tones, at the very least comes back to remain to bring SSG onto the point. Rita's not even setting up his ult. Gets 2! Shish kebab on a spear. Allowed LuneX to get reset. SSG now have to rely on a portal play. Clutch.
Yeah, we talked about this is going to be the map you want to see that, Angela, if it's going to be run, and that is straight value right there. Nectar with a huge pick. This is up in numbers once again. LuneX had it in their grasp once more, but oh my. Oh, Doomed with a huge opportunity there. Doesn't matter. That's 2 goes down as Fidel finds 1. Doomed another. This is just a matter of time, I believe, unless something magical happens, and it is not going to be the case. That should do it for the tied up map. We're going to map 3, folks, as the rest will subtly, slowly fall. A quadra now for Doomed, and oh my, it's not over yet.
Holy crap, the Game of Thrones, baby. Game of Thrones? Move over, baby, because we have a tied series so far and a tied map differential. Eldritch Monument, the next map. And, I mean, Shiv, I feel like that's kind of on Regis a little bit. Like, obviously, it's more the whole team. But, like, I feel like we've seen the good Wolverine players make plays, right? Like, you grab somebody out of the Cloak and Dagger ult. Like, you can maybe pick somebody up and maybe get an aggressive ult. We see the leap into, shift combination into a grab with the ult or whatever in the mid-airs. We see a lot of the top Wolverine players do it. Regis never made the play, and I would have liked to see him do it.
Yeah, I mean, this is just insanity. You can look at alt charge. Advantage going to be slightly in the favor of SSG, who are going to be locked into the comp that they were running there. At the end, it's, in their favor right now. Nectar has Glartrox available, but I'm just surprised that LuneX did not win that. I mean, SSG had everything. They used everything and got nothing. LuneX had it in their grasp and just kind of panicked with it. Once again, it is going to be Redis with a huge last stand potential play here. Nectar does have another alt available, like we're saying. Doomed, Month, Fidel, Necrise, all going to be in tone right behind.
Whoa, Tico got sniped cross map. He has a yeet of a grenade from Blur. Insane shot. And, with that potentially slows down LuneX's fight, who doesn't have much to set up with. They still ult. They're going to invis boundary, but the forward point unlocks. No portal. Doomed gets grabbed by Redis. So there we go. Nice play from him with the invisible boundary, as there was no shot. Also goes in with the ult. Finally, Redis comes through with the follow-up, and there we go. Nice opening moves, but they still have strat ults for Spacestation Gaming. In fact, both of them, and LuneX are missing everything. So Redis, again, would have to go off and maybe pull somebody out of this ult.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Wow, disgusting. You talked about Redis needing to stay. Oh my, that is a massive Glartrox. Oh, Nectar with a two-piece, even to numbers by themselves, and another answer comes back in as Doom's gonna clean that up. More will fall now as Nectar is looking for a quadra, and they retake the point. Oh my goodness, are you not entertained?
Yeah, both Wolverine players a little nervous on the first two rounds. Doomed, obviously, in the first round, and then Redis on the second. But now it's Redis, on this offense that has to make a play. Doom now switches back over to the Moon Knight, of all things, to combine with Blur yet again. Let's see how they want to play around Tone's ultimate. Obviously, he has it with the Phoenix combination. Maybe they can go for the Meteor M as well. But Nectar, again, these off angles, we could talk about them all day. Controlled it yet again, at least forces pressure onto the back line.
The reset comes through. Alt advantage going to be slightly in the favor of SSG, but not for long. Silent able to find one off the tackle there once more. Huge tackle from Redis, who's stepping up. Blur goes down. Iffy finds one onto Fidel. And that's going to be a good start here and a potential quick retake. It's all about the stall now. Can they stay there? Not for long. Logan with some good shots onto Necrise. And that is going to be the retake at 47%. And now alt advantage LuneX. Once again, folks, we have a trade here.
This has been really back and forth. And I think the Invisible Woman Edge is making a big deal in this, obviously, with Silent Blaze being able to pull the other Wolverine if necessary. Doomed obviously switching to Moon Knight because of it. But maybe that's why you'd want Doomed on maybe the Elsa, Nectar onto the Psylocke, or vice versa, like we've seen before out of them, regardless of upcoming fight. So many ults, but it's that huge Groot ult from both sides that is totally available alongside the neutrals out of both duelist players.
Boundary gets committed. You can use Strangling Prison to try to pull out a boundary. Not sure where that lands. Looks like Tone's able to find Fidel and Nectar through it, and he's up on the height there on the ramp. Well played, and that's going to force them to stagger here at 51%.
Yeah, excellent play. Nice read and shift of momentum. Necrise falls back. So does Doom. Stagger's maybe coming out. Doom getting hard staggered. Goodbye. They already know he has the Moon Knight ultimate. Let's see how they play it. I think neither team has actually made a full direct counter to any of these Groot ultimates. At least one or two people go down. It's hard just because of the amount of space Training the Prism can get. But as long as you get somebody picked out here early, maybe you can go for a TV play if it's only one.
I think it's difficult now for SSG because they really want to provide that combination that worked well in the last map, but it's tricky to land that here, and they're relying on it heavy, and I think that's putting them in a tough spot. Again, good close hold. He just goes down low. Logan copies up and does the exact same thing. Will it work out as Month? Trying to find an angle there, but no. Tico finds the first pick once again, and they're just getting caught, waiting out this combination. It gets launched here as Tone starts off with one. Iffy on the Blur, and I think LuneX might be able to do this now. Doomed finding two. Nectar with another. Clutch up on the duelist here, trying to get to point fast. Doomed is going to find another pick with a triple, and now look at Logan. But wow, this is insane. And you look down at Nectar, who's just trying to hold on against the Wolverine, still stalling and trying to get this point, and does just that. But 99% here for LuneX. Folks, this is the most insane matchup we could have had here for game one. Can SSG push this to 99? Alt advantage going to be very slightly in favor of LuneX with Iffy, but will it convert?
Yeah, I mean, Fidel, Cloak and Dagger ult. Doesn't have bubble either because Necrise is on that. Doctor Strange has to block if he's ult, like you said, or Redis could pull them out of it. I mean, LuneX, they could potentially shut it out if they grab people out of this ult, but also you have to account for Nectar, who has been disgusting, like you mentioned, on Elsa.
Trying to find an early play here. A pick could mean everything. It's all about this neutral now. This one pick could give you the win. Great wall position gets broke there. Incredible position here by Logan, who knows he has to play safe. Out goes the commitment. That Meteor M, if it does land on that, is huge. Redis able to find one. That is a huge pick onto Necrise, who's going to need it. Oh, the pink portal was committed to. Regis is looking now for a big ult onto Nectar. Tones tries to land it, and it does find one onto Nectar, and this could be it, folks. It is LuneX come out on top and move forward, knocking SSG out of the tournament.
Oh my God. Jesus, I would not like to be a LuneX fan right now, or SSG fan. Their hearts definitely pumping. And wow, what a series by both teams. Huge props to them, putting on probably the best tournament North American region, match in the North American region we've seen. Just a fun matchup across the board. Tones MVP, well deserved for that capitalization of the Strangling Prison towards the end. And then Regis too. I mean, Regis made so many plays. We talked about it, Shiv. You have to be able to pull people out of Cloak and Dagger ult if you're a Wolverine player. And then towards the very end was doing it and doing it well. So huge shout out to LuneX. They finally overcome those demons that you and Zoe so beautifully pointed out.
I mean, this is nutty. I'm sure, so we're going to have you jump in here in a minute. I mean, I want to get your take on this. Tones coming out with the MVP, 11 finals there for Regis as well. What was your take on this matchup, bud?
I mean, this was about as close as it can get, right? Map 5, round 3, and then we're seeing those micro switches. Doomed, I think, was a huge standout from the side of SSG. Like, him coming out on that Moon Knight as well, getting that team up, it did so much. And then seeing LuneX, you know, a less experienced team, not shying away from taking that mirror and also switching over. And then we get those mirror matchups in, like, some of the roles. Like, that was incredibly well played from both of them. And heck yeah, LuneX getting over that hump. They clutch when it matters the most in the elimination match in the lower bracket.
It's beautiful stuff. I mean, you can't write a better storybook ending for LuneX, but it's not even over. Who it is over for is SSG, right? I mean, they put up such a good fight. Almost got that reverse sweep. So you pointed out earlier, you know, the potential fake reverse sweep, the potential fake comeback. This one was almost like a real comeback, right? Like it went the distance. But I think, like, straight up, like, for the fact that Spacestation looked like they were improving this past week, like you said, Doom looked better. If he picks up a few different heroes, if he starts to play a little bit more Psylocke, I think, alongside Nectar, this team could definitely be in a good spot. For LuneX, I mean, just a team to watch out for now moving forward.
What a show. I mean, what a show. This is such a crazy game one. So I'm just happy that we were able to do that together, all three of us. What an absolute battle. I truthfully never knew which way it was going to go in every single team fight.
Yeah, no, it was absolute cinema. I don't use that lightly, but this one was peak. I feel like these players are getting paid by the hour probably. That's why we had to go all the way. Like, this was super, super exciting. I can't wait to hear from the winning team as well about, you know, just what the comms are like in situations like that, with them having struggled so much at, like, falling short at, like, the last, like, meter. So yeah, for them to finally get over that hump, just incredible stuff. And I was so worried, like, even just after the ban phase, they're letting the Elsa go through, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna come back to haunt them, like, this is gonna go awfully wrong. But it didn't. Very happy for them.
And I think that the big thing as well is somehow, actually, I think the Jeff ban kind of helped them towards the end there, because they did well with this with the Mantis and stuff, but I think when they were on the Jeff before, it just wasn't working out, right? Like, just based on what we saw Silent on the last map do. But the prioritization towards the Invis, and then the focus, so again, like, they did well in that first Mantis round. Obviously, the second one, when we switched to, like, Moon Knight compositions, was crazy. But yeah, I mean, what an end by the whole squad. And I think that Silent Blaze as well, there's a lot of credit for an incredible performance on Invisible Woman and other heroes as well.
Yeah, I mean, and then also, just additionally, we have to remember, right, that they did not protect. That is a crazy thing to do at the very last map, game 5, in a situation that maybe if you did have that DD, maybe if you had a strat or whatever you wanted to protect in that moment, it could have changed things. Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like, could have, should have, right? What is that on purpose? Is that something? I'm new to Marvel Rivals. Is this something people do? Or is this like is that a faux pas? Like, was that an accident? Like, what was that?
Yeah, I think it might have been an accident. Just because, like, sometimes we think it's like ego, but also, like, it's map 5. I mean, you could maybe hide, like, a strategy or whatever, but also, the Daredevil ban was smart. Like, maybe they were overthinking it, right? Like, I was thinking maybe we banned the Jet for the last ban, or rather maybe the Venom or something. So they thought it beautifully, just ban out the second best hero in terms of the duelist department, and that really enabled them.
Yeah, I don't feel like map 5 is the time to aura farm in the ban phase like that. I feel like that one's not it. So potentially a mishap from SSG's side, who really brought it back so nicely though. Like they really rallied, like they locked back in and they started to really like download their opponent's strat. So, you know, there's a lot of great things to be said about SSG, their run through the group stage and also here in the playoffs. This is just a preseason. Right, we still have stage 1 ahead of us, so I think a lot of SSG fans should still be very excited for what's to come for that squad.
The teams are still learning, and they're still figuring out metas and how their comps and their teams work. There's so much more coming to Ignite as we progress further, and this is the first thing we have to say goodbye to. SSG, they put on a show, they gained a lot of fans, and I think that's something that needs to be noted. But you know, things are going to continuously change, rosters could change, there's so much that could happen, but I will say they definitely put on a show. I had a ton of fun watching that matchup, and I'm sure the audience did as well.
Absolutely. I love the versatility we see there and the variety in terms of compositions as well, because that will make all the other teams who've now going back to the VOD dungeon, right, to prepare for their respective opponents, like Energy Shock and Sentinels, they now have to like look at that and go like, okay, now I need to like take something away from this. Now I'm aware that they can also play X, they can also play C. So like, it just makes it more complicated for the teams to come. Now, looking at their potential next opponents, who do you think they're going to match up better against? Is it Sentinels or Energy Shock? Who do you think they have the better chances going up against?
Ooh. I would actually say, I mean, both teams, I think they match up well with, obviously. I mean, it's tough because Energy Shock, you know, did lose to we lost to a kind of a, I would say, more gimmicky team, more cheesy squad, but are still playing, you know, incredibly well. Yeah. And LuneX, obviously, we're the second seed coming out of MRC, are also a very top-tier team in that regard. Like, I don't know. Like, I kind of like their chances against all of those squads, especially in the, well, every round, just because, like, we're now validated, right, Zoe? Like they lost a close series to Swamp Gaming. It was 3-0, but this is a good squad, and anybody should be kind of terrified of them because they're looking like, at points, a top-3 team in this whole tournament.
Yeah, nah, the doubters have to eat it. That's just how it is. LuneX have definitely proved themselves and then some. They're staying alive in the lower bracket, starting that run, awaiting their next opponent, and we will be finding out who that is going to be in just a little bit. First, a quick break, and then we're back with our second elimination match of the day between Sentinels, almost forgot it, and Energy